Yeah, Frank here has got his own billiard room.
Yes, it's what do you call it, Kramer?
Billiard room.
No, not billiard, not the billiards. It was
billiards room.
Come on already. Come on, we call it the
place to be.
The place to be. Yes, the place to be.
Then I shall be there.
Now, it's time. Live and in living color.
The Grandy Man can.
Time to play the game!
Well, you always left me satisfied and smiling, so...
That's what she said.
Why do I want this? I want to make bank, bro. I want to get ass. I want to drive a Range Rover.
Place to be Nation, Scott Criscola and Justin Rosero. This is the Place to Be Podcast.
Very nice, Mr. Criscola.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dennis.
Isn't that what I just said? What is wrong with you?
Is it the Pelicans? I didn't know it was the Pelicans.
Oh,
I know nothing about the Pelicans.
Yes.
I worked during the fucking day, okay?
And so then I'm doing this, and then he touches me, and I swear to this is going to sound, this is probably one of those you want to pull out the audio for your promo. He touches me with his voodoo stick.
Until you fancy to make a decision, Scott's stuck twisting in the wind, a pawn in your sick, cruel game of vacation domination. I don't know what the fuck the Department of Health is. I think this whole thing's a load of horseshit, Matt.
To do worse than Josh Richards.
I got enough to feed the needy. No need to be greedy. I got mad friends with Benzes. See notes by the layers. True fucking players. Jump in the Rover and come over. Tell your friends jump in the GS3. I got the chronic by the truth. Throw your hands in the air if you's a true player. To the honeys getting money, playing niggas like dummies. You got a gun up in your waist, please don't shoot up the place. Wow. Cause I see some ladies tonight that should be having my baby.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another great episode of the one and only Place to Be Podcast. I'm your co-host, Justin Rosero, wishing you all a happy Memorial Day weekend, official kickoff to summer. Hope everyone had a great day. Here in the Northeast, we had like 1.5 days worth of good weather. And the main one always is sunshine and rainbows. Of course, my PIC, Scott Criscola. Scott, how you doing?
JR, happy Memorial Day to you. And happy Memorial Day. And hope everyone had a wonderful weekend, PTB Nation. To episode 225 of the Place to Be Podcast. Yeah, finally. I mean, it was a weird weekend of weather. Like, it would rain, and it wasn't really rain.
Yesterday was one of the weirdest weather days like I've ever experienced. It was it would rain, then the sun was out, and then it would rain while it was sunny, and then it would get really dark, and then it was just, like we went down to East Providence to go down to the carousel and everything down at Riverside, and when we left here it was nice. We got there, it was nice the whole time. We came back and it looked like it had poured, so I don't know if we just avoided the rain for that hour. It was very odd. Weird stuff. But anything fun going on your way for the weekend?
Yeah, we let's see, yesterday, well, of course, Saturday I was at the Lumpy Silverback's house.
Oh yes, how was that?
For his fine pit. I kind of felt bad for him because the whole day was just god awful. He had a tent in his driveway, but I felt bad. It wasn't necessarily the rain that was a total problem, but it was just windy and cold.
Yeah.
That part just wrecked it. So everybody was in his house.
Did he have a decent turnout?
Yeah, he had a good turnout. You know, all the family came. Lou and Helen and the crew came, and a few guys from work, and the doctor came with his, with the little one and his wife, and it was nice, but I felt bad because he kind of everybody was crammed in the house, and we hung out downstairs. I mean, it was okay, but I could tell by the look in his face that he really wanted it to be outside, but it was just too lousy out for that. And then yesterday, we actually had for the first time, obviously for those that are new to the show that have been only listening since the start of the year, my father passed away in December, and we've been people have been having masses for him, and yesterday was the first time that my mother, my brothers, and my sister were able to come down actually to a mass. So that was nice. And we all went out after, and then we had a picnic at our friend's house. Today, as you mentioned, Memorial Day, JR, I marched in the parade, and I always like doing that because, you see the guys, on the side of the road with their, fought in Korea or fought in Vietnam or fought in, God bless them, World War II if they're still around. And it's a nice day, and you see little kids with flags. I love it. Mm-hmm. I love it. Today it was nice finally because the last couple years, like you said for weird weather, JR, the last 2 years, it's like 7:15 in the morning. I get up and I'm talking to Dr. G and guys kind of getting us all.
You roll over
up.
and you start talking to Dr. G.
Yes, I did. Yes. Oh no, I text him and I'm like, "How's everybody going?" And of course it's raining out, and everybody's calling me, "Oh, we still marching?" And I'm like, Then the sun comes out, but now the ground is wet, so we're walking in this like soupy, humid gunk. Today it was great. I woke up, I looked out the window, and the sun was out. Perfect. It was a gorgeous day today, finally. And that was nice. And it's a day about today where, yeah, Veterans Day and Memorial Day are two different holidays. And, maybe we'll have an episode on Veterans Day in November. But, it's a nice day to honor those that and of course, what gets me pumped up, JR? Not pumped up, but what makes me get reflective? Because Vince always does a cool open of Raw. And I was
they did. So, they did one tonight.
Yeah, so that I always like. He does that for Martin. That's one thing about Vince. He could be a fucking weirdo at times, and he's not doing it for. And if you've been watching long enough and you're a fan long enough, he's not doing it just to kiss your ass. He means it.
Right.
He wouldn't have his superstars over the year of the 2000s go to Baghdad and Kuwait and all these to do shows in the middle of wasn't there one year there was a skirmish like a few hundred miles from where they were doing the show a few years ago. Yeah, he's not making that crap up. So when he does it, on Martin Luther King Day and all the Monday days, Labor Day and that kind of thing, he means it. So
yeah, well, it's been, we'll explain that he's a big fan of Martin Luther King. He's one of his idols and all that stuff. So we got a big game going on for us tonight here, Scott. Well, Subway Series action kicking off 4 games in a row. Saturday night, Scott, I went to see the Hangover 3.
Oh, you did. You did. I actually have to still see believe it or not, I have not seen either of the first two. So
that's because you're usually behind the times. But I thought it was pretty good. I liked it better than Hangover 2.
Some people said it was terrible.
I didn't think it was terrible.
No.
Hangover 2 to me was okay, but it was more of a just kind of rehash of Hangover 1. This to me was a little different. They kind of approached it differently, and I thought it was a pretty good way to wrap up the series. I thought they did a nice job, and
okay, good.
Had some moments. It was definitely it was structured differently. I thought it was more focused than Hangover 2.
Oh, okay.
And it has
it was a good movie.
callbacks.
Yeah, it was a good movie. It actually surprised me. I saw Iron Man 3 a couple weeks ago. Tomorrow night I'm seeing Star Trek. I've heard great things about. I saw Iron Man 3, which was good, different. It was actually more about the Tony Stark character than the actual Iron Man character. But it's a good movie, JR. I highly recommend it. Even if you see it in a matinee for like half price, you in the tower there. Pain and Gain.
Yeah, we actually been talking about going to see that, me and him.
Yeah. Very interesting. It's a true story. Very interesting movie. Obviously, it's one of the 9 out now that Rock's in. But when you look at the trailers, you're like, oh, typical Rock fall down slapstick comedy. It is not by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. Very dark and not at all ha-ha funny, but very good. Actually, I think it's one of Rock's best movies, believe it or not.
Interesting.
I thought he was very good. I highly recommend it. Pain and Gain. Mark Wahlberg, Rock, Tony Shalhoub, Ed Harris. No, not the Ed Harris that leaves comments. The real Ed Harris. Maybe it is him. Who knows?
He is the real Ed Harris on the leaves comments.
It is. Of course it is.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I've definitely...
Yeah, no, it's very good. I highly recommend it.
Had some interest. So, of course, it's not a story of our weekend without some kind of kerfluffle involving myself.
Oh, God.
So
what store cashier did you strangle now?
Well, first thing this morning, we get up, and we're going to look for a new car for my wife, because the car she has now is just, it's just not, it's new, but it's not big enough at this point. We need something big.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, she wants an SUV. So we go up, get my dad, and we go up to see one of his friend works up in Somerset, up at the Jeep place there. So it's about a half-hour ride.
That's right, because your pal, he's the one, your old Jeep boy, isn't he closed now?
Yeah. So he moved up there.
The guys used to get your Jeeps from?
Yeah, he moved up there. So it's a Jeep and Subaru.
Oh, okay.
So we leave at like 9:15. We all go up there. Fucking get there. The place is closed. So I'm like, okay. There's nothing on the website, nothing on their Facebook, nothing anywhere that indicated they would not be open today. In fact, they're even advertising a Memorial Day sale on their website. Memorial Day weekend. So I'm like,
boy,
all right.
Here we go.
So I'm like, okay. So maybe they open at noon, right? Maybe I just misread or I didn't think about it right, and maybe they open at noon and it's Sunday hours or whatever. So we go visit my sister and her boyfriend. They live up probably like 10 minutes from there. So we go up there, we go get breakfast. We're farting around and drive back at noon. We're like 12:05. Still closed. So now I'm fuming. We drive all the way home, and I'm just pissed. Because I just wanted to get this done today, because the next few weekends are just way too much going on.
Right, of course.
And I'm like, what the... First of all, what car dealership is closed on Memorial? I thought holidays are like their biggest fucking moneymaker.
Deal City. Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on. Everyone's off. It's beautiful out. You should have had a band on the line. You should have everything going on.
A band. Big blow up Bret Hart and everything.
So we get home and just ended up doing a bunch of yard work, and now I'm fucking exhausted, and I'm all pissed off because I feel like we had to get something done. I ended up doing 2 straight days of yard work, and now I'm like crippled, and I'm blaming that fucking car dealership. So we ended up we're gonna put a shed out in the woods. We had to clean all that out, and then we're converting part of that deck. The lower part of the deck. We're taking that out, and we're gonna make it like a patio, I think.
Oh, right, where you leave the grill.
Yeah.
That part, yeah.
We're going to take that out. So we started trying to take that out, but I just didn't have all the weapons I needed to fully attack that. So I did a lot of hacking and pulling and digging of roots, and now I don't know how I'm going to play basketball tomorrow night. I'm probably going to be falling apart by Wednesday.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you have to move the night of the arsonists to Tuesday.
Tuesday. So anyway, I'm sore. I'm tired. And I'm very angry at Somerset Jeep and Subaru. Although we may take a ride up Wednesday night. We'll see.
Yeah, no, it's a 2 mile. It's a 2 mile walk from Vets Park, which is in the southern end of Norwalk, to the green. But it wasn't oppressive, and it wasn't, the heat wasn't leaning on us. It had a nice breeze, so we lucked out. The last 2 years, the humidity was just ridiculous. But this year it was nice. So I'm a little winded, but I'm feeling good. And because JR, as always on Monday night. Should we do the quick spoil? Should we do the spoiler breaking news on Raw? Do you want to just say it, or would it be dated by the time? Should we wait till the?
What?
I think it's a big deal.
The
match
announcement
change.
of what, for Payback?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Who cares? It's it's late
whatever.
news, but whatever. It's they announced there'll be 3 stages of hell for Cena and Ryback, and which means 10 stages of hell for us to watch it, and that is lumberjack match. I already forgot the second step.
Tables
match, and then ambulance match to round it out. So
honestly, after the only other time they did it, I mean, obviously the greatest 3 stages of hell match of all time is Triple H and Steve. Well, of course, we'll get to that on the vaults very down the line, and then the other one, Shawn and Steve Shawn and Triple H.
They said this is only the 3rd ever. So
yeah, those 2 are very, very good. I think this one's going to be very, very. They're not even good stips.
No, they're
not
lame
even good
stips.
Lumberjack. Who gives a shit? It's a terrible stipulation.
No, we'll talk more about it.
We'll talk more about that in a few weeks.
You can talk about Wednesday. We have a
yes, we have our special show on Wednesday. So, but tonight we're going to talk about another stipulation I hated.
Hey, what is going on here?
What the fuck? Do you have a life, Tubby? Seriously, you obviously look like you went to a picnic today. Jesus Christ, you're actually grading things today? Get a life. Isn't Zach in trouble or something? Maybe he broke into the school. I don't know. All right. Tonight, of course, episode 225 of the Place to Be podcast. What is a major part, JR, of a Memorial Day picnic?
Besides sandwiches.
Yep, sandwich, burgers, dogs,
Buns.
beer.
Yeah, all right, beer. Yep.
Beer. Now, beer comes in many things, but of course the most convenient way of holding beer is by 6-pack. Well, tonight, the challenge is a 6-pack.
6 determined contenders. They all want Triple H. This is a game that you don't want to be in. 1 enforcer, hell-bent on revenge. Hey, that's her hell. Triple H, The Rock, Mankind, The Bulldog, The Big Show, Kane. 1 epic battle for the undisputed World Wrestling Federation Championship. WWF Unforgiven, presented live by Magic the Gathering Trading Cards. Tonight on pay-per-view.
Magic the Gathering.
God.
It's a trip back in time.
Oh, God. Never played that game. Never. Sold a lot of them. When I worked at our good friend Mike's store, sold a lot of Magic. Used to sit through those, as the cashier sitting through those games. God, I have no idea what any of those guys are talking about. But that was one of the big sponsors. Big money at the time. Tonight, inside the Vintage Vault, on the Place to Be podcast, Unforgiven, 1999. Of course, this pay-per-view title moving last year, 1998. It was in April.
Mm-hmm.
And this year it is moving to September, where it will be for the next
a lot of years.
9
years.
Did you
like that they kept the title and moved it?
Yes. Yeah, I did. I like Unforgiven. I always liked that title. I wish I never got rid of it. I like that title. And what's funny, JR, is they moved the title, but stayed in the same state. How about that for symmetry?
That's absurd.
That's absurd. That's non sequitur. Let us dive in. September 26th, 1999. Live from the Charlotte Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina.
San Diego, California. Going against
That's right.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte, North Carolina. Of course, as I mentioned, I'm referring to this because a year ago, Unforgiven 98 was in Greensboro.
Wow.
Now it's in Charlotte. And you're right, JR. Even Charlotte, which was like the friggin' backbone of NWA, even at this point in late 99, WCW was barely even going there anymore. You know, you were right about that.
Graham was just waiting outside the arena lonely, waiting for them to show up with his poster.
Pretty much, it seemed like with this little program they would eventually put above the medicine cabinet. At this point, pretty much they were going. I mean, they were pretty much spending most of their pay-per-view time in Atlanta, Vegas,
DC,
Nashville. Yeah, they weren't even going into and they were going into weird places for Nitro, Idaho.
Well, they went there to capitalize on the success of Ready to Rumble.
Yes, of course, yes. So, your attendance, pretty good. I don't know if it's a sellout, though. 15,779.
No, not really. Well, unless they've changed, unless they had changed any of it. But no, it doesn't look like it. It looks like the capacity for basketball is 24, hockey 21, boxing 23. So, they're short of a sellout on this night.
Interesting.
Rare for this time.
Yeah. Buy rate, pretty good, though, 0.85. And your announcers, of course, the voices of the Attitude Era. Good old JR, Jim Ross, and Jerry the King Lawler. We have an interesting storyline under the surface of this pay-per-view, JR. Why don't you let everyone know?
All right. Well, due to an unusual number of referees getting beat up and abused week after week since SummerSlam, the referees decided to go on strike. At the start of the show, we see refs picketing outside the Coliseum. Thus, the reason for Steve Austin will be our guest referee in the main event. In other matches, we'd have other referees as well. This will be the first time in history there are special referees for every match. First time in pay-per-view history. We have Harvey Wibbleman, our good friend, Tom Pritchard, and various others would work Raw and SmackDown, which we'll talk about in a minute, and pay-per-views as well. What did you think of this storyline, Scott? I thought it was kind of cool.
It was very unique.
Yeah.
It was kind of a good backbone for some other things of this show that were a little frustrating, but I had no problem with it. It kind of put funky people in unusual positions. So no, I thought it was pretty cool. It gave Earl and Kyoto and Corderis and those guys the night off in a weird way. The night off.
Give me the night off. Yeah, no, I liked it. I liked the fact too that the it kind of gave like ready-made storylines.
Right.
They could play up easily, different things like that. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I agree. Heat, usual show. Did we have any matches on Heat?
No matches, but some stuff did go down. They announced a couple of matches for the show, and one change to the main event that we'll talk about as we move along.
Okay.
Let's talk quickly about SmackDown, though.
Yes.
So we talked about the pilot back in April, but here, the week after SummerSlam, SmackDown officially made its debut as a proper show on the UPN network. August 26th was the first episode, and it was a monumental one.
Yes.
Saw Commissioner Shawn Michaels turn heel when he super kicked The Rock and cost him a world title match against Du Bois. And then he'd be gone from TV for a while. Shawn would. So
yes, very weird.
But a very good episode, and it would be airing Thursday nights at 8 o'clock on UPN. So now we're up to 2 shows a week. Well, 3, I guess, counting Heat, but 2 major shows a week of 2 hours apiece. What did you think when this was added full time?
I knew at the time it was cool. It was a good idea because the roster was so loaded.
Yeah.
And
the product was so good. You wanted to see
enough. At the time, you couldn't get enough. But I remember even Dr. G saying at the time, he goes, this is cool now, but I have a bad feeling that a couple years down the line, this may become a problem.
Yeah.
But for the moment, it was fine.
And it was big, too.
The Raws were so awesome. Could you really wait 7? At the time, you couldn't wait 7 days for the next one.
But people thought
was
that
nice. He was like an appetizer,
and people thought that was going to twofold. One, they thought it'd be burnout, both by the wrestlers, the actors, the writers, and the fans. And 2 would be killing off that desire to get to Monday. That you couldn't wait. You had to get there. And people thought maybe having the show on Thursday now would take that a little bit away. And I think the product is so hot right now it didn't matter. So I think you're right. In the short term, it was fine. But it was a big deal for them to get on network TV, Scott. This is a really big deal. So it wasn't like they were just going to another cable show. I mean, so for them to get a network time slot in prime time was a really big deal.
And at the time now, officially, right, at this moment, you had wrestling on 5 nights a week, correct?
Well, Thunder, I think, was
5
still...
of the 7?
Well, I think Thunder was still Thursday. I don't think they moved to Wednesday until the competition kicked up a little bit from SmackDown.
Okay.
I can try and confirm that. But
anyway, you had Nitro and Raw on Mondays. You had, obviously, Heat Sunday nights.
And just to clarify, January 12th, 2000, they moved to Wednesday.
Okay. So at the moment, you still have both Thunder and SmackDown on Thursdays. And then, of course, you had ECW on TNN on Fridays.
Yep. And pay-per-view or Heat on Sunday.
And pay-per-view Heat on Sunday. So it was a veritable...
And you had syndicated shows on Saturday. Eventually you'd have what would be called Shotgun... Well, Shotgun Saturday Night, that was still on, I think, on Saturday nights at this point.
Yeah, I think so, too. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I think every night... Once Thunder moved to Wednesday in January, every night but Tuesday you had wrestling on.
Yep. And technically you have that now. But
yes.
Very different, in a very different sense. But it's not as overwhelming now as it was then. Well, Raw's different now. But anyway... Yeah, so you had a veritable wrestling buffet, and actually, ECW was still doing fairly well.
Yeah,
but you could see the holes because obviously you haven't had that many. There haven't been that many defections yet in ECW. In fact, you haven't had a major. Well, let me.
Yeah, I don't really agree with
Let me disclaim that a little bit. You didn't have a lot of defections to the WWF.
No.
You had more. Most of them went to WCW.
Yeah. There was a big pipeline to WCW.
Yeah, I mean, from Raven and Stevie and
only a few had come.
Saint Man moved over yet to be Hack.
Yeah, and the thing with when they moved to WWF, it wasn't really like a poaching. It was more like a promotion because they were pretty much funding ECW still, and it was almost like their feeder system. So when you had guys like Al Snow and guys like that came up, it was usually in draws and guys that were down there to work to get better.
Right.
And prep for their run. So there was more like that. WCW was outright just poaching guys. They took Raven and Saturn and Mike Awesome eventually,
and we have
and a few others.
Right. And we have two major defections, defections. Two major promotions coming up in the next 5 months from WCW,
one
from
here.
ECW. One right here, and another one towards the end of the year, and then of course the big thing happens in February. But anyway, all right, let's dive right in. Our first match. Kind of breaks the streak of kind of cool openers that we've had.
I disagree.
This
one guy we haven't seen. When the hell's the last time he's been on? It's been a while.
God, I don't know.
Mania?
Backlash? Well, the match is Steve Blackman, fresh off his loss to the leaving Ken Shamrock in the dungeon match. Or the I can't believe I just forgot now. The match with the weapon. Fake.
The Lions Den match.
Lions Den, thank you.
Yeah.
The Lions Den match against Shammy.
Yep.
Taking on a guy who, again, I agree with you, JR. I don't think we've seen since.
I think Mania is the last time he's been on.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you know what? He was at Over the Edge.
He was over the. Yes, that's right. He was in that. He was in the mixed tag.
Yeah.
And that is, of course, Val Venus.
Rhymes with penis.
Exactly. Haven't seen him since he was making out with Nicole Bass in Kansas City. Kind of an unusual opener. The storyline was that Blackman, who was pissed off that he lost, just started beating the crap out of Val with his kendo stick.
Yeah, pretty much. He just started attacking him. They had a couple showdowns on TV. And Blackman just beat the crap out of him with his kendo stick. So they opened the show here.
Yeah. At the
funky part.
I think you should play that theme when you're walking up Andy's driveway. Play tomorrow night. Dribble the ball between your legs. Get all excited. Start spinning on your fingers. Touch it. I was never a big fan of this match. And Vince Russo, who we'll be talking more about in the coming couple of vaults, more than we normally do.
Yes.
Usually was pretty good at giving guys fun things to do. So I was kind of perplexed how bland this feud was, and the match is just, I don't know. There wasn't anything there. Thank God it was only 6.5 minutes. Blackman loses again. Maybe that's what's bothering me. I don't know what you think about this. I know you disagree with me about the development part. I know you'll get to that in a sec, but Do you at least agree that I think Blackman's getting kind of short-sighted here? I mean, he loses to Kenny, who's gone. That was dumb. Well, we talked about that last month. But here, you would think, the guy's a solid worker and kind of a cool heel. You could really do a lot of things with him. You got him losing to Val, who obviously hasn't been on much.
I think they were trying to get Val over again, maybe.
I don't know.
Trying to get him up and running. And Blackman, I don't know. He's one of those guys to me that could lose. It doesn't matter. He looks legitimate. He acts legitimate. It's not like he's ever going to be a world title contender. And anyone can get an IC title shot these days, so I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
That is true. Yeah, that's true.
We'll mention here the Brooklyn Brawler is the special referee for this match, stepping in. The scab ref, we'll say. Yes. One key point, too, Val actually stole Blackman's weapon bag and brought it to the ring, so Blackman was looking to regain his weapon.
I remember that, yes. Yeah. That's right. Yep.
And Val hits the money shot for the win. Mm-hmm. And then he hit Blackman with the... he goes to hit him with the kendo stick, and Blackman ends up hitting Val. So Blackman walks out with a little bit of heat here. But Val gets the victory. Yeah, two guys just kind of taking up time, taking up space in the mid card, and nothing doing too much for both of them. But
right, yeah, I agree. And Val gets the win, hits the money shot. A little over 6.5 minutes, nothing earth shattering. And Steve Blackman, you know who he mowing the lawn did that much to you, huh?
Well, that was yesterday. I did the lawn and everything else. I played some wiffle ball at night, and today I was just hacking the shit out of.
I actually played wiffle ball last night, too. I found out last night, on a side note, JR, I still didn't realize they made the wiffle ball softballs anymore.
Oh, yeah, they do.
They still make them. I hadn't seen one in
a year.
Men
don't use them, so.
Well, it was a kid's wiffle softball, so what do you want from me? It was the only one
I hope you did well, anyway.
Oh, yeah, I hit the hell out of the ball. Actually, today I went to hit the batting cages. I hadn't played ball all year, and I was dominant. I was feeling good. Anyway, so there you go. Val wins. Bummer. Next up, a match that had a very good backstory that had been brewing for a few months, culminating here. Mm-hmm. And that is our first title match of the evening, the World Wrestling Federation European Championship on the line. Your champion.
Your champion.
MVP. No. Guy we talked about at SummerSlam who turned on his buddy for money, and that is, of course, Mark Henry, who turned on his boy D'Lo Brown at SummerSlam in the double title match with Jeff Jarrett, allowing Jarrett to win both belts. And then the next night on Raw, he gives Mark Henry the European title as a thank you for helping him win both. And, of course, Jarrett stayed the Intercontinental Champion. Well, D'Lo, who was trying to help his pal get into shape and, be more self-confident and be a little slimmer, and that's all he cared about his best friend. His best friend was a selfish fool who wanted the money. Well, D'Lo wanted to make him pay. So here he goes after the European title that was rightfully his and is now gone. I kind of dug this story. I like those kind of storylines where heels get paid off with belts. I know it sounds cheesy, but I don't know. I always like that for some reason.
Will you stop?
I'm sorry, Mr. President. Never happened during Gorilla's. Well, it actually did in Market Square Arena when Andre gave the belt to DiBiase. But
no, it was a good end. The European title. I mean, it's been kind of legitimized towards the end of the year, but then once it went back with all the Shane stuff and everything else, and been a little bit of a bump with the D'Lo Jarrett feud, but whatever. It didn't matter that much. I like how D'Lo made it prestigious, though. Like, he wanted it back badly from Henry here. So they teamed up, did some tag stuff over the weeks on Raw and SmackDown, and then, of course, Clash here for the European title. Did you like that Henry was back to being a heel, or did you kind of wish they just kept him together?
I got to be honest. He was funny. He was fun as a face. So, I enjoyed I didn't mind it in the sense that it gave us a good match here. It should have been a good match, but I was a little bummed. I kind of liked his face run. He was funny. All the vignettes with D'Lo trying to get him in shape, and they were funny, and they added like some, at the time, a lot of the main event storylines were very serious, and that kind. It was kind of nice to have a little levity in the middle of the show. You wouldn't see a lot of that when we talk about 2000. You don't see as much levity in the mid card as you do now. So to lose that with him turning heel kind of bummed me out a little bit. I'm not going to lie, but. It was okay. The payoff was okay because in this sense, you kind of needed the whole belt switch thing. So that instance, it didn't bother me. But I kind of liked Mark Henry in that funny role. It had a little levity to the middle of the show. So, and he's starting to now become like, God, it was like his third heel turn. And it's like, sometimes you don't know what to do with the guy.
Yeah. I agree. I I see why they did it, but I think it was, to use the word you used earlier, short-sighted, because as we'll see as the year goes on, it doesn't really amount to much, and before you know it, he's kind of back on the other side.
I know.
So, yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish I just kept them together. I thought they were a fun team, and I liked having them as buddies, and getting in the tag mix for the titles every now and then, and everything else. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like they didn't really need to turn him heel, but I did like him as Jarrett's muscle, but I thought they kind of phased that out quickly. They almost did it like he paid him for a one-time gig, and then he was kind of done.
Yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, what happens here is the match is it's not good. Mark Henry really, in real life, I think, it's one thing to be the strongest man, but it's another thing to be the strongest man and fat. And he was just so slow, and he needed to hit the gym. And I'm talking.
Well, that's why that storyline kind of made me feel a little awkward, honestly.
Yeah.
And by the way, Brett Gardner, you have to watch this. Just made a sick. I don't know if you have it on or not. Just made a sick catch to rob somebody. I don't know who it was, of a 2-run home run. It's 1-0 Yankees right now in the 6th, and he just made a ridiculous leaping catch at the fence.
Yeah, I knew that. I was kind of wishing Hughes would have pitched like Wednesday or Thursday, so maybe we would have hit him a little bit.
I know, yeah.
On the road,
good timing to have him at home. I mean, to
have
him out in City Field.
Well, you know what? Win or lose, at least Neese seems to be pitching well. And
he is, yeah. He's only gave up. Gardner hit a triple, but it was because whoever's in left misplayed the ball, dove for it, and missed it, and went by him. And then a sac fly brought him in. Maybe it was a single, actually. I forget.
It was Baxter. I don't know. I didn't have much in the way.
It was Daniel Murphy.
Oh, God. Why is he in the outfield?
No. Murphy almost hit the home run.
Oh, almost hit the home run. Okay. Well, he's been one of the few bright spots in the lineup right now. So, but the match is just not. It's just not good. It's very slow plodding. I felt bad because I thought these guys would have a little bit better chemistry.
Oh, my other point though, that storyline made me feel bad because it was true. You know, he needed to lose weight, he needed to get in shape, and it was kind of like they were bringing it into real life, and I thought it was just a little heavy-handed. I thought it was funny in parts, but. And seeing like Henry reject it and turn heel because he didn't want to get in shape was kind of like, I don't know. I feel like he belonged on The Biggest Loser more than he like fucking should have turned heel. Like we shouldn't be mad about it. You know, we should kind of feel bad for him. Like, oh, this guy's got to lose weight, and the one guy who cares enough to whip him into shape, I was almost like an addict or something.
Yeah, and he turns on him and just to get a quick fix, the European title.
No, it's kind of lame.
Yep, paid the price, and D'Lo Brown once again, your World Wrestling Federation European champion. He wins the match. With the lowdown. So, I always get confused. The lowdown was the power bomb, right?
No, the lowdown was a frog splash.
The lowdown was the frog splash. The sky high was the power bomb.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because he wasn't going to power bomb D'Lo.
Well, he does. Henry was doing the mounted punches in the corner, and D'Lo walks out and power bombs him.
Yes, and this would really be the last. Splash. This would be the last real high point of D'Lo's singles career, because as we talked about at SummerSlam, a couple weeks after the show on SmackDown, he of course accidentally paralyzes Draws on that SmackDown in Long Island. So this would be D'Lo's last big singles.
Well, I think you're a little off, and I think we'll see that he has an oft-forgotten. He gets in the mix over the next few shows. I think it's really not until 2000 where everything's lingering.
Oh, okay.
And he kind of... we're going to see a lot of the mid-card flux, as we mentioned before, in 2000, when we get this injection of talent, and a lot of these stalwarts that helped resurrect the WWF in 97, 98, 99 kind of fall to the wayside a little bit and get overlooked. And D'Lo ends up... So it's kind of a confluence of events with D'Lo. It's like this whole injection of talent plus the fact that he's just got these lingering effects from what happened with Draws. So I think it was more than just... it's one of those things where everyone just assumes right after Draws he just fell apart, but we'll see over the next couple shows. He still sticks around in some pretty decent matches.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's true. Maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit. But I mean, it does begin the downfall, but he does kind of he sustains for a while, you're right. But once, let's put it this way, once the competition in the mid-card gets really hot and heavy, he starts to fall behind a little bit. So, but at the moment he is now once again, I think third or fourth? I think third. Third time. Your World Wrestling.
More than that, because he traded with X-Pac a few times, right?
Yeah,
and won it back.
All right, so maybe fifth.
I'll look it up.
We'll say five. Five-time World Wrestling Federation European Champion D'Lo Brown once again as he defeats Mark Henry. Next up, our next title match of the evening, and we talked about this gentleman because he helped. He got the help from Mark Henry, your World Wrestling Federation Intercontinental Champion, Double J, Jeff Jarrett, in this awesome new character now, really ramping it up over the past month.
This is D'Lo's fourth reign.
Fourth reign. All right, we're close. Okay. Fourth reign. Jeff Jarrett.
Don't make me mad.
Don't piss me off.
If you remember, the Don't Piss Me Off, of course, was becoming quickly his trademark slogan.
Yes.
But due to the action figures, he couldn't put that on the little T-shirt or the guitar, yes. So it actually said, "Don't make me mad."
God.
Don't you go making me mad.
Don't make me mad. He takes on, believe it or not, JR, you ready for this?
Don't piss me off. It's like fucking Ned Flanders.
Ned Flanders. He's taking on, can you believe this? China.
What the fuck?
Yes. I'll tell you why.
Why?
The night after SummerSlam, on the 8/23 Raw, there was a blank contract for an IC title match placed on Jeff Jarrett's door. These little things I miss, cool things like this. He's on the door. So he's thinking, it's there for whoever his next opponent's going to be.
Well, Jarrett, he announced that he was going to do that. It wasn't just random.
Okay. While walking backstage, Billy Gunn, fresh off getting thoroughly humiliated at SummerSlam by The Rock,
ate out that large woman's ass. By God, King, he's tossing her salad.
We're using chemicals on the deck today or something. Okay.
By God, I hope someone's recording this.
No, I'm thinking of the Rosati sisters and tossing salad. Great, thank you. Okay, so Billy Gunn.
I was with Chris Scolo and Judy Martin last week.
She should have gotten the title shot. Billy Gunn notices this and says, "Oh, I'm going to dive right in and take this."
By God, it delve right in.
It dive right in out of the lettuce.
He's insatiable. Billy Gunn's insatiable.
And he was going to sign up, but guess what? He didn't have a pen, dumbass. So he asked.
He was jerked off the ladder. The Big Johnson.
Tomatoes.
He jerked off the Big Johnson from the ladder. My God. There comes LaRue.
My ass. So Billy Gunn needs a pen so he can sign this contract.
Yeah.
Maybe it's too detailed. Who knows? He asks China, look, guard the door and guard.
You know what's in it for you if you do.
Yeah. Guard the door.
Good time.
Hold the, make sure no one signs it and go get me. I'm going to go get a pen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, China sits here, realizes, well, I have a pen.
Mm-hmm.
She got it from. She signs it.
Yep.
Crafty little bitch.
Little Max.
So she puts up she puts the title shot up again. She seems to be putting all.
Yeah. What is her problem? This chick. Not that bright.
A couple of weeks after this, actually, I think it was the week after, on the 9/2 SmackDown, she takes on Billy Gunn for that IC title shot, and thanks to your.
You would think this is the fucking Mega Power storyline as long as it's taking you to get through this thing.
It's so fucking huge.
We've gone through a week of fucking action so far.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
With help from...
Triple H helps her. She retains the shot and moves on to Unforgiven.
Then...
See, what it's trying to say is this.
Up to the out comes the bowl of salad. Now, Jarrett was... let's talk about Jarrett. Enough of China and all these title shots. Yeah. Jarrett was awesome at this point.
Yeah. Well, depending on your point of view. But.
Well, depending on your point of view. I liked him. To prove his point...
That explains a lot of your issues.
Yes. Get that salad out of my face. To prove his point that he could beat China...
My God. Mark Henry's salad is in front of Billy Gunn's face.
He started attacking women with a vengeance. He guitar shot and put the following women in the figure 4. Yes. Cindy Margolis.
Most downloaded AOL star.
Oh, I loved her. So hot.
She dethroned Sunny. Remember, Sunny was number one.
Sunny was number one many, many years, yes.
Who do you think now is the most downloaded woman on AOL?
On AOL? I don't know. Ask your price. Maybe, It's the only one still on
Shawn Michaels.
My God, it's not a Christinello.
Phineas is Dickel.
Yes. $50. Okay. So, Cindy Margolis, Jacqueline, Moolah.
Ooh, hang on. We got to back up a second.
Yes.
So yeah, Fabulous Moolah and Mae Young were brought out for an episode, I believe it was of SmackDown, kind of just to honor them for the night.
Yep.
And Moolah, of course, at this point was, in her 70s? Mae Young's like in her 90s. So they drag him out.
80s at least.
Yeah, this is Mae Young's first appearance, I believe. First of thousands.
And nobody really knew who she was. Yeah.
Well, Jarrett did, and he put her in the figure 4.
Yeah.
Her and Fabulous Moolah.
Yes. Ivory. Luna Vachon.
Yeah.
When did she come back? It's got
She's been around. Did she ever leave?
I don't know. What was she doing?
Well, she was still with the Oddities, remember? And then she's just kind of been...
In 99?
Yeah, I think she's one of those people that was on the roster.
Kind of floating around, yeah. Lillian Garcia. Who's she?
She is our new ring announcer, Scott, for Raw. With SmackDown being added, they decided to add a new voice, and she would be doing the announcing there.
So Lillian would do Raw, and I guess Fink would do... Was it
Tony Chimmel.
It was still Tony Chimmel. So Fink was Fink was just doing pay-per-views.
Yeah.
At this point. Yep.
Is he doing this? I think he was.
Yeah. He doesn't get bumped out of the pay-per-views for a while. A makeup lady, whose name we don't need to know. And he almost gets Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah.
Obviously, the most heat in his career. He's on a roll, booed like nothing else.
Like nothing else in the world.
Ever. So he was loving this.
I'm loving it.
And China, and I think they did this, JR, because I think when China did that little stretch of convoluted crap leading up to SummerSlam, she was getting some legitimate face pops.
It was now or never. It was kind of like they got to pull the trigger with, they lost their major diva face woman in Sable, and you could tell they wanted someone to take her place, and I think China was the choice. Yep. Not as hot as Sable, but I think at this point it was probably the peak of her look-wise.
Yeah, she looked great. No, she did look great.
I'm not going to go crazy and say she
I'm not saying she's gorgeous, but I'm not saying she wasn't dog meat. I mean, great.
She wasn't dog meat.
She wasn't dog meat. She wasn't. She wasn't
quite at the level of being
Joyce
a Michael
Grable
Vincent's
or anything,
collection.
But yes, she wasn't Joyce Grable, but I mean, she wasn't.
Joyce Grable.
She wasn't stunning.
Anyway, so I think they were looking to position her and utilize her in that role. At this point, there were more man-on-woman violence was kind of common in the world of wrestling. You saw it all over in WCW and especially ECW. Yeah. So it kind of sneaks in here, but China's always been presented as more than a woman, as the Bee Gees once said. She was positioned more as a guy who could hang with men from the minute she was introduced. And Jarrett really just was going on a very, very anti-woman run here. They belong in the kitchen and everything else. And him and Deborah seem to be back on the same page pretty much, although they had a little bit of trouble again heading in here. And he actually went to put her in the figure 4 at one point as well, Scott. Miss Kitty has been introduced at this point as well. Jarrett hired her as Deborah's assistant, portrayed by Stacey Carter, of course, at the time dating Jerry the King Lawler. And she was like 40 years younger than him. She was 29 at the time. And Lawler would have been, he was born in 49, so Lawler was 50. Anyway. So she was brought in to be Deborah's assistant by Jeff Jarrett.
Yes, and an extra eye candy on the screen didn't hurt either. Right. So,
well, there was another reason too. Is Deborah backstage had actually begun dating Steve Austin, and
what?
He was having some issues with his neck that we'll get to over the next couple of weeks here on our shows, and she was off TV a lot to help tend to him, and go to doctor's appointments and help him rehab and everything like that. So there were times where he wasn't on. So I think they added Kitty to the mix to give Jarrett to still have that female presence in his corner for the nights that Deborah wasn't there.
Yes, just as a side note, you mentioned Deborah. Of course, Steve Austin had been married to his wife of many years, who was also his manager in WCW, Lady Blossom. They divorced earlier in the year, or maybe late 98.
Yep.
Yeah, he started dating Deborah.
Yeah.
Marries her at some point, but we'll get to that.
So you liked the Jarrett storyline? You didn't say anything wrong with him abusing women? I'm not asking you. I'm not trying to bait you into any kind of debate or.
I don't want to be baited. Randy Orton.
I'm being honest. I want to.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. He wasn't. It wasn't like he was beating the crap out of him. He hit him with a. He was putting him in the.
He only hit him with a guitar. I mean,
well, yeah, but I mean,
come on.
This is where how do I want to word it? I want to word it properly before it goes in the next open. This is where disbelief needs to be suspended. Yeah. at the time of the Attitude Era.
You had to play that.
Talk about getting hit with a guitar.
Do you sound like?
Yeah. If China was going to be an opponent in this match,
Actually, we're all done. We're all ready for it.
that's what he sounded like before, on Saturday. I'm all ready for it. He's throwing dead animal on the grill. As long as he was fighting a woman at Unforgiven, a woman who could obviously take care of herself, she wasn't a delicate flower. I didn't have a problem with it. A point needed to be proven for the storyline that Jarrett's beating up women, and
he could have just verbally abused them and kind of like,
wouldn't have been
wash
the
his
same.
car or something.
Nah, would wash his car. Would have like Sonny and Garvin was cleaning up the Von Erich farm.
Made
or
him restring his guitar or something like that.
Restring his guitar.
Made him repaint the don't make me mad on the action figures.
Add action figures.
Say menial tasks,
I want these figures to say piss on them, damn it.
No, I thought the figure 4 was okay. I don't know if you needed the kabonging with the guitar. I thought that was maybe one step too far.
You know what? Yeah. I'll tell you this. Kabonging regular, like kabonging like Ivory and Jacqueline, that's another thing. There you go. Kabong! Jacqueline and Ivory are one thing. They're wrestlers. They can take it.
Yes.
Sidney Margolis, Moolah, you probably...
Moolah May didn't bother me either. I guess I'm thinking more of like Lily and Sidney. I didn't like when they made like defenseless women part of it. Like, yeah, I think you're right. Jacqueline and those chicks can show that they can hang, and they've tossed it up with men before. And but I think throwing in women that are perceived to be just like starlets or the ring announcers and not active competitors to me seemed a little bit more like abusive. I mean, look, it worked. It was over. Mm-hmm. It was entertaining. It definitely was entertaining. It was one of the best parts of the show as far as heat goes, and the way he was, his verbal attacks were good. Right. But as far as that one piece of it, to me, always felt that I know at the time. I mean, even not even just wrestling. It was like pop culture was all about whatever at that point. You could do whatever the hell you wanted. Jerry Springer and all that shit. And violence was everywhere and sex was everywhere and no one gave a shit. So it was fine. It was a product of the time just like anything else. So we're just kind of looking back at it now. Felt a little heavy-handed. The match itself isn't that bad. They had some pretty good chemistry. I thought Jarrett showed a lot of, I don't say guts, but a lot of dignity in putting over China the way he did and letting her... get a lot of offense in and a lot of strikes in and looking, I don't say dominant at points, but looking at least in control.
Yeah. And she's probably about his size, so it's not like she was,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, this was fine. I mean, I was okay with giving it a shot with China because you never knew. You couldn't put her in there with the women because you didn't have strong enough women right now to stand up for her. If you had her and Ivory in a match or her and Luna, she dominated them physically, so it didn't look right. So I was fine with them giving, and she'd run her course as Triple H's valet, and he didn't really need her anymore at this point. And even though they kind of linger a little bit, he was ready for other stuff. And this to me was shit or get off the pot with her. Either take a shot or you're gonna have to move on because you can't just kind of keep the status quo going. So I thought they've teased it enough throughout the year. We saw it at the Rumble, we saw it at King of the Ring, and we saw it leading up to SummerSlam. Mm-hmm. And David Wright just hit a fucking moonshot to tie the game.
Ah, okay. Well, right, they're hanging around. I'll give them that. I thought these next 7 games after getting swept by Cincinnati was going to be just an ugly bloodbath. But Saturday was a disaster. But at least they won last night. Maybe they'll hang around this week. Who knows? I'll be happy with 1 win out of these 4. Let me be honest with you.
Life as a Mets fan.
Well, what do you want me to do? The expectations are nil, and nil is lower than that now. I don't know what to tell you. Look, I'd love to sweep them, great, but I'm not on drugs. All right, I'll take a split. And China was starting to figure out, because wrestling, being a big woman wrestling women is one thing, but being a bigger woman and wrestling dudes, you actually have to kind of wrestle like them. So a lot of work rate women would use on each other, you kind of had to throw out the window, and you kind of had to be a little more aggressive than you would against it. But I think she was ready for that.
Yep.
And her body could handle it. Obviously, she was in good shape. So That's the thing I liked. It was great to see Chyna really let loose in the ring. And secondly, I very much dug the face turn. I very much did. Well, not face turn, but kind of the pseudo tweener thing going on. We'll talk more about Triple H later.
Yeah, she had that weird thing, right, where she's a face on half the show and a heel on the rest.
Heel on the other half,
it was a little confusing.
Very little confusing. Maybe it was a little, but it was cool to see at least her get her shot. But at the same time, something had to happen with Triple H, and we'll get more.
So, an interesting note here as well. Tom Pritchard is the referee, and he had been kind of conspiring with Jarrett over the past few weeks with the women bashing stuff and kind of being misogynist. And so he's the referee here. They do a thing where Chyna wins the title, but he overturns the decision. They do a dusty finish, and he ends up DQing Chyna for using the guitar, I think. So that would lead to the next month, which we'll talk about next week.
Yes.
But for now, for here, Jarrett retains his title, but this feud is clearly far from over.
Yes, and that's good, because I wouldn't mind seeing another match from these two. Worked for me. So Jeff Jarrett retains his World Wrestling Federation Intercontinental Championship by DQ, because Chyna used his Don't drive me nuts guitar. More on that next month. Our next match is it's got a lot of backstory to it. The Acolytes, former World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions, starting to split away now from the corporate ministry, if that even exists anymore. I guess it doesn't. So now they're their own guys now. Taking on new team on the block, JR. A team that has really, you could argue, that they're probably the team of the decade. Argue
that decade, the 90s, or you mean the next decade?
No, this decade so far.
Okay,
maybe the team of the last 5 years. In all three, if you combine all three promotions.
No, I mean you got Harlem Heat in the mix there. They've been dominating things.
Well, I'm saying arguably
Outsiders.
they could be on the ballot as one of the best teams.
I'll put them on the ballot.
For the best teams one of the last 5 years.
All right, let's talk about all this stuff here we got going.
Yes.
So we got a couple debuts actually. Let's talk about the first one because we mentioned him briefly over the last couple of shows, and he shows up here and gets involved, and that is a debut pay-per-view wise, as far as getting involved in the in-ring. Stevie Richards, of course, our old friend Michael Manna, who joined us way back in episode 50-something or other. It was August of 2011. ECW mainstay, also had a brief stay in WCW, wrestled his first match in ECW history when he battled Jimmy Jannetty to a 20-minute draw, February 25th, 1992. He would then begin mimicking other famous wrestlers, parodying them from week to week. When news that Scott Levy was headed to ECW, Stevie began parodying all of his former personas. When Levy debuted as Raven, he beat the crap out of Richards for mocking him. Stevie took the beating and then became Raven's lackey, and eventually the two became tag team champions. Richards is also part of the popular BWO gimmick, the Blue World Order, mocking the NWO. Blue Meanie and Nova were part of that as well. Stevie played the role of Big Stevie Cool, the ripoff of Kevin Nash. Of course, it was Big Daddy Cool, Diesel in the WWF. Richards' ECW peak came on the first pay-per-view for the company Barely Legal, where he competed in a three-way dance against the Sandman and Terry Funk to determine the number one contender for the title. Shortly after this match, Stevie announced his retirement due to a severe neck injury. The validity of the injury has been questioned since, and Stevie ended up going on to sign with WCW in May of '97, right after his buddy Raven signed on as well. Stevie had a brief run, but left WCW in October after for failing a medical exam. He's also said since that Raven basically told him to shut up and be his lackey or else he'd get him fired. Stevie resurfaced on the August 15th Sunday Night Heat, immediately returned to parodying various wrestlers such as Dude Love and the tag team we're about to talk about in a moment. He also hooked up with the Blue Meanie for the short-lived underground favorite Blonde Bitch project, which is scheduled to poke fun at Sable, and of course I think Sable's lawsuit ended up knocking that out from happening. So very long-winded there for Stevie Richards, a guy that we'll talk about a lot actually over the next few years.
Yes.
Kind of funny how he didn't go back to ECW, but I'm pretty sure the bridges there are pretty burnt. So he was off TV from when he left WCW in '97 until mid-'99 here.
Yes. Yeah, and he would be part of some really great and some not so great moments in WWF lore, but we like Stevie here.
Yeah, and if you want to hear more about Stevie and his career, and he gave us an awesome interview, very in-depth, and went into a lot, didn't pull any punches, and talked honestly, so go check that one out. All right, so we have one other debut here, and that's actually the tag team in the match against the Acolytes. That is Devon and Bubba Ray Dudley, the Dudley Boys. In ECW, the original Dudley family debuted in July of 1995 and included such luminaries as Dudley Dudley, Big Dick Dudley, and Little Snot Dudley. The family eventually introduced more of Big Daddy Dudley's illegitimate children in the form of Dances with Dudley, Chubby Dudley, Sign Guy Dudley, and eventually Bubba Ray Dudley, Little Spike, and Devon as well. Bubba initially was portrayed as a stuttering dancing hillbilly who had to be helped through his promos. In April of 96, Devon debuted, took out Dances with Dudley, and claimed that the Dudleys were portraying the family as a comedy act and began feuding with the rest of the family. He eventually picked off the weaker members and was able to unite the remaining members, Bubba, Sign Guy, and Big Dick, into an effective heel stable. Bubba dropped the stutter and would develop into a lethal promo man, just go out and completely tear apart various fans in the audience, and almost even started riots on occasion. Bubba and Devon would eventually win 8 ECW tag team titles, with the final victory on August 26, 1999, just weeks before they left for the WWF. They would eventually drop the titles to Raven and Tommy Dreamer after Tommy challenged the Dudleys to a handicap match in a last-ditch effort to prevent the duo from taking the straps to the WWF. Upon their WWF debut, the newly renamed Bubba Ray, of course now spelled B-U-B-B-A instead of B-U-H-B-U-H, suddenly regained his stuttering speech impediment. Before the stuttering was quickly dropped, we did get one great moment when Bubba tried to introduce himself to The Rock, and Rock interrupted. It doesn't matter who you are.
That was funny. I remember that,
yeah. So as we mentioned before, Steve Richards had been doing a mimic gimmick where he started dressing like various wrestlers, interfering on their behalf. And his most famous incarnation was Dude Love, but around this time he started dressing like the Acolytes as well, but he kind of a few laughs on them and a look isn't he cute kind of way. Also was portraying the Dudleys too. And finally, the Dudleys, as the legend goes, are actually scared of the reaction they'd receive in the WWF locker room. It was just months earlier that Public Enemy had showed up and got shown the door very quickly. Spring of '99, they made the actually this is something I wish we talked to Kevin about. We forgot. They showed up, and the tight locker room didn't appreciate the way the attitude they had about being stars in WCW and ECW, so they made the Enemy's lives hell. On a particular Raw, the Acolytes even sent out to rough up the Enemy and teach him a lesson. Public Enemy was sent packing back to ECW and WCW. So the Dudleys brought a better attitude and respect, and they fit in immediately and did not have a problem. So, all right, a lot of stuff going on there. And then this match, Scott, was brought about because on September 2nd, SmackDown, Tag Team Turmoil was held to determine the number one contenders for the Tag Team Championship. Acolytes and Edge and Christian were the remaining teams, and they were attacked by the debuting Dudley Boys. As a result, the match ended in no contest. On September 6th, the Raw, Edge and Christian defeated the Acolytes to become the number one contenders after, again, interference by the Dudley Boys. As a result, they made this match here. The Tag Team Championship changed hands many times. On September 23rd edition of SmackDown, we'll get to that later. So that was the tag titles, but... So there is the whole build to this match, the whole background, and all these guys, and I'm going to take a sip of water and let you talk about the match.
Of course. First off, great job by the Dudleys to understand what was up. They were now in the major leagues, and they did not follow the first half of the 90s best tag team, which was the Public Enemy, who were unbelievable dumbasses when they got there.
Yes.
Very stupid. Very stupid. And they paid the price for that. They'd have been pretty damn good in this run had they not had their heads up their asses, I think. But the Dudleys learned their lesson, and this was a big move for the company because, again, as we talked about on the last few vaults, it was nice to see that the tag team division was kind of starting to find its legs again. And now you have two tag teams that you could, obviously are going to be around for a while and competing for the straps. The problem at the moment with the Acolytes was after the corporate ministry gimmick was done, did they still have I don't think they were still wrestling with the logos on their chests or anything.
I think so. I think they did. Okay, I remember when Stevie was mimicking them, he was doing the logos on his chest.
Yeah, that's true. So there is an example of, at this point, now, what are you going to do with these guys? They're not anybody's Acolytes anymore. They're
right.
They're just guys now.
But the good thing is they had really, they had really put them over as such a legitimate team.
Yes.
That they could hang even without that leadership. They had really been positioned as one of the top teams at this time, and they had a couple title reigns and legitimate ass kickers. And as we'll see, things will really pick up for them character-wise. But I thought they were still interesting here. I remember at the time still digging them. And I thought they were a good choice to put in with the Dudleys to work with in their debut, and kind of veterans to help get them going and show them the style of WWF way of doing things. And what did you think about them retconning the Bubba Ray character?
I don't think that was going to fit here.
Did I use retcon correctly? I may not have that time.
Well, retcon means starting over.
Yeah.
Do you mean bringing it back, or do you mean bringing it back and then dumping it?
Yeah, bringing it back here because they dumped. ECW had evolved past it.
Oh no, so and
now they brought it back. They went back. They went back to the beginning of the story.
No, retcon is starting over.
Right, and that's changing the beginning. So they would if they made him like a transvestite or something.
Yeah, if they made him look like Donna Cristiano. But my point is, no, I didn't think it fit. I don't think any of that ECW stuff could have really been used at this point. I think they should just come out and I would have rather preferred them. They could have pushed the envelope and been the Dudleys they were. I mean, they couldn't walk around and to the crowds and call mothers and daughters whores or anything. But I mean, they could have been a little risque.
Well, the story goes that Vince actually really liked the whole. I don't know if he had ever seen it, but maybe someone explained it to him. But he liked the whole Bubba character, how it had first debuted. And that's why they went back to the whole thing. That's
weird. Doesn't seem to be a Vince kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know. I think I prefer you were like, oh yeah, call them whores, yeah.
Well, I mean, he just like the. He probably liked that he was like a dumb Southerner kind of thing,
A dumb hillbilly, yeah. Oh God, hillbillies. Let's not use that word.
My name is
My name is. I loved it in ECW, but I don't know if it would have fit here. But I was just glad they were there because another tag team is awesome, and as you can tell, they would put on a pretty good legacy. But
did you feel bad for ECW though? Like this is a pretty big blow to them.
It is a big blow, but you kind of knew at the time now. And you can honestly say, I know how I know at times we both say things where like, oh, we didn't think that back then. I think even then you were thinking, even as you're watching ECW, you're like, oh, these guys aren't going to stick around. I mean, right now at the time, the company, WWF was red hot. They had the cash flow. These guys wanted a piece of the pie.
Well, if you remember back in the DVD, the story is that they requested Paul give them $1 more than the WWF's offer,
and he wouldn't.
And he said no. And part of that was he had to deal with Vince anyway to give them talent. But also he felt like if you wanted to be here. Don't make that kind of gesture, to stay.
Yeah.
And in addition to the stuttering, remember they went back to wearing the glasses and all that. And what did you think of the tie-dye look, though? Do you think they would never be taken legitimately with that look?
No.
They definitely needed a change, right?
They needed a change, yeah. The tie-dye thing wasn't going to work. No. Kind of sad because let me ask you this, JR, on a side note. Who was your favorite Dudley?
I liked Bubba.
Of the whole family?
Yeah, I mean, Big Dick was funny.
I like Big Dick. He was my favorite.
Yeah, but I liked Bubba. He was the best promo guy.
Still felt like he was on crutches for like 7 years. I always liked him, though.
I liked the idea of dances with Dudley. I thought that was funny.
Was he the one that used to hold the sign that always had like all the AC/DC songs, Back in Black? And
I think that was Sign Guy Dudley.
Sign Guy Dudley. Highway to Hell. Yeah.
Yes. Dance with Dudley was like the Indian Dudley.
That's right, yeah. I thought they were the same guy. Yeah, I liked Big Dick myself. I was just curious. PTB Nation. Let me know what your favorite.
Our opening clip.
What? Oh, I like. Damn it!
Yes.
Toss a salad. I like Big.
Is that? I like Big Dick myself. Good stuff.
And at least it gets me in the open. Because at this point you should know who the fuck the health department is. Okay.
Yeah. When I find time to not be lazy and make new opens, I'll put that in.
Yeah, exactly. Sitting around doing nothing, mowing the fucking lawn and yelling at cashiers.
Yes. I do have a lot more free time than you.
Yeah. Yeah, I like I'm surprised because the stuttering thing didn't seem to be a Vince thing, but the tie-dye thing definitely had to go. But getting back to the Acolytes, I wasn't saying their work rate or their work in the ring was stale. I didn't even say anything was stale. I'm just saying eventually these guys are going to need some freshening because the whole Taker guardsman look was not working anymore.
No, that's fine. I agree with that.
It doesn't mean they were bad workers. I'm just saying I know at some point in the next few months they were going to need a freshening up character-wise. That's all. Do they have the T-shirts that said Hell's Henchmen yet?
Yeah, I think so.
Those were some of my those were like one of my favorite Attitude Era T-shirts. Were the ones that said Hell's Henchmen.
Well, don't forget the markings and all that shit. That was even before they were with Taker. That was all from the Jackal.
Oh, yeah, huh? That's true. But even now at that point, I mean, he's gone now. So, yeah, they definitely need a freshening. But in the ring, they were fine. I thought they were fine. And I think this was probably a test match, just like the Public Enemy match was a test match, too.
Part of it, yeah, I'm sure.
I thought they were out there to give to make sure. I think already they knew that the Dudleys were a different team than Public Enemy, that these guys were going to show some respect. So I don't think they went out there and roughed them up. I think they went out there with the intention, let's see how good these guys really are. And they were fine. The match was fine. And they would just get better and better, both as characters and as guys in the ring. So I had no problem with them. I enjoyed it. And it was good. It was not a bad match. And I'm glad Stevie was involved, and it's nice to see some fresh faces in this crew.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Yep. So Stevie helps. Acolytes win. Dudleys lose their first match out, but obviously have a lot ahead of them. So we'll get to that. So Scott, the next match here is probably one we can get through pretty quick.
Oh God. Another women's title match.
Oh, by the way, the ref in that last match was the only official WWF referee to cross the picket line. That was Jim Corderas. So he's the only one to actually cross and referee matches here tonight.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. Scab.
Fucking scab. Bitch.
Scab. Okay. Our next match, another
Our
title
boy
match.
Harvey refereed this one.
Yeah, of course he did. World Wrestling Federation Women's Championship. Ivory, who last month defeated Tori, this month takes on Luna Vachon in a hardcore match. They were using weapons, but that's why it was a hardcore match. There wasn't much to write about. I think they fought like out in the back and hit each other with like makeup containers and foundation powder and jazz like that. And Tori was still involved in this mess. She didn't factor into the decision here, but
well, on August 26th SmackDown, Luna got involved. Ivory was having an evening match with Tori. Then on September 6th, Raw, Luna got involved in a brawl with Ivory and Tori. And a week later on Raw, Luna was attacked by Ivory during a match with Jeff Jarrett, which we talked about before. This led to a match between Ivory and Luna here.
Yeah, and it was
hardcore, like you said.
Yeah, nothing earth-shattering here. So
no, Ivory retains 3.5 minutes, uses a pole to the head, and that's it. Luna jabs.
Oh, you said jab. I thought you said jabs, and you were finishing the sentence.
Luna jabs.
Jabs. Who cares?
Gives a fuck.
So Ivory is still your women's champion. Another title match up next. This one for the World Wrestling Federation tag team titles. And guess who the tag champs?
Wait, what is going on here?
What? What's going on at Citi Field?
No, I'm talking about the tag champs.
Oh, the tag titles. Threw me off. Yeah. Look at this. I thought maybe there was another some Mets outfielder dropped a ball or something. Wouldn't surprise me.
No.
Yeah. Tag team situation changed again. Last time we talked, JR, you know who our champions were?
God, I don't even remember.
The Big Show.
Oh, yes, and Undertaker.
The Undertaker, who defeated Kane and X-Pac at SummerSlam. Oh, Armageddon Show! Ben Affleck. So,
yes.
But what happened?
Oh, all sorts of shit. They lost the tag titles to The Rock and Mankind on September 20th. Known as the Rock and Sock Connection.
What?
On that week's SmackDown, Rock and Mankind were cutting a promo against Triple H, and all of a sudden, the Road Dogg showed up. He said, "Gentlemen, you seem to be overlooking one small detail. You see, there are two. You two are the WWF Tag Team Champions. Believe it or not, that means a little something to him. And Rock, if you check the registry, I think you'll see that I've got reservations at the SmackDown Hotel. Not sleeping single, though." You all right?
Stupid way to put it.
The DOGG has a tag team partner to go after those tag team titles, and that is the one only B.A. Billy Gunn. They hug, and it looks like we're back together now. Mr. Ass's run has shit the bed. Back with Road Dogg. And they go ahead and champs accept the title match. And with that, the Outlaws defeated Rock and Sock to regain the tag team titles. Once again, Kings of the Hill.
All right, first off, I think worse than my reference to the best Dudley earlier, the fact that Road Dogg says, "I'm not sleeping alone here in the SmackDown Hotel. I'm bringing some ass."
Yeah.
Secondly, does this pretty much mean that the last 4 months of storylines went totally out the window? Pretty much. They hated each other in May or whatever. Nobody cares anymore. Cares, whatever. I was kind of excited. I always like seeing the New Age Outlaws back. So, what did you think? Were you like, "Oh, brother"?
I kind of felt bad for Billy. I felt like didn't give him much of a chance. I know they gave him a big push at 1K in the ring when it faced The Rock, but I mean, those weren't. I don't know. I thought they could have edged this out a little bit longer. Now, as we'll see, it's part of a bigger piece of the puzzle, so there's more to it. They didn't just put them together for the hell of it. But at the time, I remember feeling a little bad. Like, oh, yeah, we're back to this. We have all these new tag teams in the mix, and we're back to putting the belts on the Outlaws.
Yep.
Like we had the Hardys, we had Edge and Christian, we had the Acolytes, we had the Dudleys. We had all these teams in the mix, and we're right back to the fucking Outlaws.
Correct. Now, at SummerSlam, didn't we have a turmoil match to determine a number one contender?
Well, that one, the Acolytes won, and they got their title shot.
Okay.
We talked about this before. Edge and Christian defeated the Acolytes on 9-6 in a number one contender match, thanks to the Dudleys.
Okay.
So that's how they earned this match.
Interesting.
Why is that interesting?
Because I don't remember. So the Acolytes got 2 number one contender matches?
Well, they got their match.
Right.
They lost.
When was that match?
Fuck.
Was it that week? Must have been that week.
Oh, you're killing me. Hang on, let me go find out.
Okay. Meanwhile, I had no problem with Rock and Sock. We need to mention though the big segment because that happened, of course, leading up to this show.
All right, go ahead.
One of the biggest segments in the history of Raw occurred.
Acolytes got their title match the next night, ended in no contest.
Okay. The Rock and Sock connection came together shortly after SummerSlam, and they became a team. And around this time, Mick Foley's first book came out. Mick Foley decided to transfer from wrestler to author, and his first book came out. Have a Nice Day, the first of many. So he and Rock would kind of become friends. Well, not really. Rock still treated him like garbage, but Mick kind of went along with it.
Right, Mankind basically just asked him to be his tag partner, and they ended up teaming up and winning the titles, and it kind of built from there.
So they would have a segment on Raw. Let me confirm, though, before we do that, because I want to make sure. Let's talk about the match, and then I'll look it up.
I think the segment we talk about was after this.
Yeah, I think so, too. Might have been the next night.
Because I read all of the CRZ recaps, and I haven't read that one yet.
Yeah, I have a feeling. Let's just confirm.
Yeah, it's the next night.
Okay, so we'll talk about it at No Mercy.
And
all right,
the rating is ridiculous.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in the next vault. Okay, this match is it's okay. It's nothing.
Right, and the tag titles are really bouncing.
Okay,
I was saying the tag titles bouncing between the Outlaws. To the Outlaws, but between Taker and Show and the Rock and Sock was kind of interesting because you had these these 4 major stars battling over the tag titles, and you kind of have these other weird teams in the mix like the Hollies and the other teams kind of going at it with them. But yeah, the Outlaws getting back. In a way, I guess the Outlaws were as good at any choice to transition the belts from the upper echelon teams to the normal tag teams. Like you couldn't really see the Hollies or Edge and Christian knocking off the Rock and Sock or knocking off Taker and Show at this point. But the Outlaws were kind of believable, and even then, I don't think they went clean. But it's kind of believable that they could be the team that kind of takes the belts off of them. So maybe it was a good way to get them back into the mid card anyway. Yeah,
and the match is really good. Great chemistry here. We talked about Edge and Christian. They're slowly growing as a team, slowly gaining some cred from the crowd. And working together in the ring, which they have done already for most of their career to this point, has been fantastic. So it was just a question of the Outlaws meshing with them, and they did. Billy and Dog started working together again like nothing was wrong, which, again, disbelief being suspended. And being like, all right, yeah, forget that they feuded and everybody hated them, and there you go. They're back to being baby faces for the time being. And retain the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team titles. Billy hits the Famouser, so he's back to being the good hot tag babyface.
And a little bit, not a clean win, though. The Brood interferes. Matt and Jeff Hardy, the new Brood.
The new Brood.
Yeah, and they attack Edge and Christian, and that gives Ass the opportunity to hit the Fameasser.
Yes.
And retain the belts.
Yeah, a little over 11 minutes. Good match, though. One of the better matches on the card. One match that was not one of the better matches on the card.
Here, where do we start?
Yeah. finally have gotten to this moment, JR. Can you believe we finally have gotten to this match in our legacy here in the PTB Podcast Inside the Vaults? Our next title match for the World Wrestling Federation Hardcore Championship, the continuing feud, the rubber match between the Big Boss Man and Al Snow. I'll let you handle this. I'm sure at the moment your description will be much better.
All right. Big Boss Man continued torturing poor Al Snow into the fall, but he really crossed the line on September 2nd SmackDown. We'll back up a couple weeks, though, because on 8/26, Boss Man absconded with Snow's pet dog Pepper.
What?
Snow's friend. On August 30th, Boss Man told Al that if he met him in a hotel room on Thursday, he would return Pepper to him.
He would give him some pepper.
Well, on SmackDown, Snow showed up at the hotel to find that Boss Man had prepared dinner for him. Well, Al showed up, and Boss Man served up the main course, and Snow's munching away, thinking, hey, this is great. I can get my dog back. We're eating some dinner. The Boss Man. No fighting. Well, Boss Man told him, don't get a paw stuck in your tooth. As Boss Man's quip sunk in, poor Al realized what the evil bastard had done to him. And then he tells him that the meal's 100% grade A pepper. Snow realized what he was eating and began vomiting all over the room. Boss Man says, this is what hardcore is all about. He takes a bite of pepper and declares that it tastes like chicken. And this completely pushed Snow over the edge. And the next week he showed up on Raw dressed as Avatar, his old gimmick that Vince gave in 95, started cutting promos before realizing what he was doing and running away. The next week he brought out some of Pepper's friends, who he claimed would be in between two cages at the pay-per-view. His friends were Rottweilers. Thus the match is set. A steel cage bout surrounded by a Hell in a Cell cage with rabid dogs in between, known as a kennel from hell. On September 6th, SmackDown, the Big Boss Man came out to revel in his canine culinary skills and offer an open challenge for his hardcore strap. He asked if there's any dog lovers in the back. And that brought out, to everyone's surprise and enjoyment, the number one dog in WWF history, the British Bulldog, making his return to the WWF. Mr. Smith returned and went on to defeat the Boss Man in under a minute to win the hardcore title for the first time. After the match, Snow ran to the ring dressed as Leif Cassidy, another one of his old gimmicks, shoved a piece of paper in the Boss Man's mouth and ran off. But before Al could get up the ramp, Bulldog stopped him, gave him the hardcore title as a present. Later revealed that the paper belonged to that Snow was challenging Boss Man to the kennel match. So Snow is now your hardcore title, gifted to him by the British Bulldog, making his return. We'll get more to Bulldog in the main event. All right, before we get to the match, what did you think of the cooking pepper?
It was gross.
I thought it was great heel work.
It was great heel work, but that was just...
I love all the shit we're going to get to with Boss Man. I know everyone craps on a lot of it and thinks it's hokey, but...
The later stuff, I actually...
He's such
believe
a
it or not,
dick. He's such an asshole. This guy
really
stole the dog, cooked it, and fed it to the owner. If they did that shit on Sons of Anarchy, you'd be fucking creaming yourself. This is awesome.
That is true. That is... You actually... I'm great you worded that, because you're quite right.
Right?
It is pretty
they
awesome,
do this on any of these shows. Breaking Bad on any of these shows nowadays, and Yemetzis took the lead with a base hit off Robertson. 2-1, bottom of the eighth.
No kidding. Holy shit. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. It just seemed to... At first you're like... Ugh. But then...
What an asshole.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, tell me he's not having the time of his life right now back in this company. He's having such a blast. I think that's
great.
What made me legitimately happy.
And
again, Boss Man was back where he belonged, in the company he belonged, and having a legitimate fun time.
And, we mentioned it in the past that this was really... in the era of the cool heel, just the guy that loved just being a prick.
Yep. And not many people were like crazy about it. So yeah, it was sick. It gets better. He gets better as we progress through the end of the year. Yeah, this is kind of weird.
I thought Snow was the perfect target for this kind of thing too.
Yeah. Yeah, because
he's a guy you feel bad for. He's just tortured.
Yeah, exactly.
Always tortured, this guy.
Yeah, he was the he definitely was the sympathetic guy. So all right, the match.
This is one we have to talk to Kevin about.
Yeah, definitely. To give you an idea, it was called a kennel from hell. Mm-hmm. For the first time, and thankfully I believe the only time in World Wrestling Federation history, a regular cage and a Hell in the Cell were used at the same time. You had a steel cage, and then the cell was over it, But in between the wall of the cage and the wall of the cell were dogs. Yes. Actual dogs. Rottweilers, to be exact. One of my personal favorite breeds. But I don't know what they were supposed to...
Wait a minute.
What?
Rottweiler is one of your favorite breed of dogs?
Yeah, I like Rottweilers.
Are you a fucking meth salesman? Meth dealer?
No, I just like Rottweilers. They're good looking dogs. I like Rottweilers. I like boxers too. They're cool dogs.
God.
Nothing against Rottweilers. What? I got sniffing the meth under my pillow.
Fucking poor guy's delivering his Chinese food to you. Fucking Rottweilers growling at the door.
Oh no!
Fucking Suge Knight over here. The fuck is wrong with you?
Come here, bitch.
Jesus.
Nothing wrong. I thought they're cool. I don't know if you can own them as regular people, but I don't know, regular human beings owning Rottweilers. But it's not like I have studded collars for them or something. That'd be kind of neat though. Studded collars.
You've got to be kidding me.
Absolutely not.
Studded collars with Judy on one and Scotty on the other.
Yes. Yes. She sit there. She's petting it. Just the cigarette, the Lucky Strike in her mouth. All right. Anyway, so they're between the cage and the cell, walking around, and I don't know what their point was. If they were supposed to be mean, or if they were supposed to bite Boss Man, but all they really did was lie around and fucking shit everywhere and lifted their legs and pissed on the door.
It was
such a fucking disaster.
They should use robot dogs or something.
Yeah,
that they can fucking control.
Yeah. It was just such a mess. The trainers were there, but all they did was just crap everywhere. It was a mess.
Yeah, I don't know what else they could have done with this concept to make it work.
I don't know either. This is definitely a match you have to watch on the...
It would have been more, menacing if they had just had, piles of dog shit around the ring and you were trying not to get thrown in the dog shit. To me, that would have been more menacing than having the actual dogs.
Kind of like thumbtacks, except with shit.
Yeah, I don't know how they could have done this safely, and gotten them, worked up and frothing up and to make it look believable. I don't know. They should have not. They could have done the cage. That was fine, but having the dogs is just...
Yeah.
Too much risk.
Yeah,
luckily, though, this was at a time when they could get away with this kind of stuff, and it didn't matter because the product was so hot. It became a running joke and a punchline, and not really anything that could hurt them or really destroy their momentum in any way.
Right. Yeah. No, it wasn't going to do anything bad. It just was It's 11 minutes and 40 seconds.
Way too long.
Get in history.
Yeah, way too long. This one, like I said, we need to talk to Kevin about because he did the alter bonus commentary. Him and Mick Foley do a commentary for this match on Mick Foley's Hard Knocks and Cheap Pops DVD. So I definitely want to hear. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on Raw right now. I definitely want to talk to him about what went into that.
Yeah, no, it'd be very interesting. And this concludes the series, the best of 3 series. Bossman won at Fully Loaded, and then Al Snow has won the last 2. So Al Snow still your World Wrestling Federation Hardcore Champion. And yes, we did mention British Bulldog. More on him later. But before we do that, why don't we take a breather? It's been a very up and down 7 matches. More ways than one. Dicks and Rottweilers. I think that should be the name of this podcast.
I think it's gonna be the new your new nickname, Dixon Rottweilers.
Dixon Rottweilers. Should be my indie name.
Oh God, that's
the
awesome.
NEWF, John Cena Sr. managing Dixon.
Yes. I know now. Yeah, that's awesome.
Tremendous. Dixon Rottweiler. You should sign that in hotels. People put fake names so they're not found anywhere.
Oh boy, Dixon Rottweiler.
Excuse me, sir, Dixon Rottweiler in apartment 727. Dixon.
All right, why don't you go feed your Rottweilers before they attack your neighbor?
Yes. All right. We will come back. We've got a couple more matches left. We have a match debut, not the actual debut itself, but a match debut of someone, and our very convoluted main event. We shall take a break, and instead of before we go to because in honor of the holiday today, known as Memorial Day, we of course enjoy the day off from work and cookouts and parades. But let's remember what the day is for, and that is for honoring those alive, and of course, in particular, who have passed on sacrificing themselves for our freedom and the ability to do these podcasts from World War II, World War I, Korea, Vietnam, even the Gulf War. So let's take a moment of silence to remember those who lost their lives for us for the ability to do podcasts and goof off. And we'll be back right after this.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
What I'd like to have right now.
Chad, do you ever feel that the world revolves around WWF?
I think you mean WWE there, Barf.
Yeah, whatever, but what about David Crockett?
She likes it! Well, what about Jimmy Valiant?
I'm gonna get you all until I get you, Paul Jones. Oh.
The Four Horsemen.
We are a family, and we are the best.
The Omni, the Dangerous Alliance.
Please welcome the newest members of the Dangerous Alliance, Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko.
Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express.
The Fantastics are putting the U.S. Tag Team title on the line against the Midnight Express.
Main events with actual work rate in them.
Woo! 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 All right!
It's just not fair to Flair.
It's not fair for Flair.
If this is what you're looking for, please check out Where the Big Boys Play podcast, the only pure NWA and WCW supercard podcast out there.
While you were in Hollywood making movies, Thunder Lips, I was winning world titles.
So a guy from across the pond and a dude from the south, Where the Big Boys Play. It's a great podcast. Harv and Chad are awesome. Check them out. Also check out WrestleChat.net, indeed where it's at. Great message board, plenty of topics to browse, the Still Real to Us podcast, and much, much more. Also, our message board, which is awesome, bigelow34.proboards.com. It's where PTB really began. Written reviews and a boatload of them. And PTB Nation, we have you to thank for that. Plus the Territory Wars, a whole lot more. If you want a one-touch spot for our show, you can head there. Also head to Stitcher.com and the Stitcher app for all phones and tablets, and more details on that. Also, our good friend Graham Cawthon, the history of WWE.com, the best research site you will ever find. Also, another sponsor to the show, the Wrestling Forum, TWFnews.com, their wrestling forum, a blog site, much, much more. The guys at TWF creating a wrestling media nation, many blogs, podcasts, vodcasts. Yours could be included. They're the official forum of WrestleChat.net and the place to be. We've joined up as well. So check them out, find out what they're about at TWFnews.com. Also, you can check out our show at GetThePointRadio.com. My good friend Mike. It's a great online radio station. If you're on the mood for wrestling, but you want to listen to music, pop it on. He plays music all day long. But you can also check his archive on iTunes, and all of our shows are there as well. Big site.
Hey, this is Scott Hudson, and you're listening to the Place to Be podcast with Scott and Justin.
All right, Scott, I hope you're rested and refreshed. That was a hell of a break we just took.
Ooh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, nice
never heard a bigger break by Lord Alfred in your entire life.
Right, nice 2-day break. There was a lot of, well, you know, we've been backed up on our sponsors, and we owed some commercials and breaks, so we let them play over the last 2 days.
It's kind of like the end of, it's kind of like the Fan after Francesa. They don't play commercials for like 3 hours, and they come back and they put like 9 straight minutes. So.
Yep, that's exactly where we're at. So we are back due to some technical issues. Our original piece of Part 2 of Unforgiven, unfortunately, was wiped out, unusable, and it was just too late Monday night to re-record, so here we are, giving you full disclosure. We are going to redo this. Hopefully it's just as good as it was the first time, or even better. That's what I'm hoping for.
I'm hoping for that, too, yes.
And what we ended up doing, and what you're going to hear, is we combined what was supposed to be Monday and Wednesday show into one episode. So coming up after we finish this review of Unforgiven, we're going to have Chad Campbell and Brad Woodling on. We're going to talk about the new website we're launching and just some little bit bullshitting about wrestling in general, too. So this will be a supersized episode to kind of make up for these two for not having one Monday night. So that's kind of where we're at. And when we left off at Unforgiven, Scott, we had 2 matches to go.
Yes.
Last 2 ones here on the card. So why don't you get us going with where we left off?
Okay. We have our first big pay-per-view match, actually first pay-per-view match, period, for the huge debut. That was Chris Jericho, who, of course, made his debut in that legendary August 9th, 99 Raw. And but he has not wrestled yet. He showed up at SummerSlam. And here he is in his debut against a guy who you could easily say, JR, and it's really no secret that he has been the work rate workhorse of everybody he's been around, whether it's DX or in his tag team with Kane. We're talking about
X-Pac.
He's been fantastic. And,
he has. Him and Kane both.
This matchup.
Yeah, him and Kane really have been the stalwarts of the mid card. They're guys that have upper mid card have really been the two guys that when we give out our year end refresher rewards or look back and when we talk to Kevin and all that, I think these are the two guys we'll look at that really carried 99. Has there been a better guy in the mid card? Because obviously we have Austin and Rock and McFoley and guys, but that had a better 2-year stretch from say April 98 till the end of 99 here than Xbox having. I mean, we talked about him last year being really a guy that helped carry the undercard through most of 98, and he's continuing that here in 99.
Absolutely. He was the plucky underdog battling injuries. Obviously the neck was the big thing, and the combination of protecting it and working with it has been amazing. And here he is taking on a guy who we already know is a damn good wrestler.
Right.
And obviously Jericho had to kind of change his philosophy, JR, because we all know who he was supposed to face in this match, and that was your boy, Shammy. But Shammy, of course, Ken Shamrock, is gone. And he wanted to get back into the UFC thing, and we won't get into that. We talked about that at SummerSlam. But he's gone, and
I do want to talk about that build, though, because I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
And I was pretty excited for that match, and I was a little bit disappointed that Shamrock had a bow out. As good as this match, I had a feeling this one was going to be a good one as well. And as much as I liked X-Pac at this point, I just love Shamrock, and I was really into that feud. Just to back up a few steps here. So, paying homage to his longtime personal security guard in WCW, Ralphus, Jericho decided he needed some backup here in the WWF. So his first choice was longtime announcer Howard Finkel. Said he could turn him into a warrior, and as a result, Fink started using the Ultimate Warrior's music, and he'd come out and interfere with the ring announcements and get in Tony Chimmel's face and Lillian Garcia's face, and he ended up having a tuxedo match with Chimmel, and basically just kind of goofy, embarrassing stuff for Fink. And then once the Fink thing kind of tapered off, he ended up choosing and bringing back Mr. Hughes to be his bodyguard. Last we saw Hughes was at the 97 Rumble. Since then, of course, he was fired due to his S&M ways.
Yes, his very unusual hobbies.
I'm a fan of Rihanna. And he lost a lot of weight and actually looked pretty good out there in the ring.
He did look good, yeah.
Short-lived stint again. I don't know if he even makes it to the next pay-per-view, but here he's with Jericho. And a lot of good build as well with the Shamrock feud where Jericho just started tormenting him and attacking him, and then they had one where he beat him up. He jumped him back in the garage, and Fink was taking pictures while Jericho had Shamrock in the walls. And then they even had a first blood match, but Jericho wore a full hockey regalia and ended up busting up Shamrock's innards. So he was had the internal bleeding as usual.
Yes.
But he does not make it here till the pay-per-view. And one thing I am curious about asking Kevin for is, why the sudden departure of Shamrock? Did he know all along, and that's why they did the build anyway as a way to write Shamrock off, and then knew they were going to stick X-Pac in here, or was it really just a last minute thing that Shamrock decided to leave all of a sudden? You'd think he'd get one more pay-per-view payday,
Right. Yeah,
so
that's
I'm
odd.
really curious about that one.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's another one. We'll ask K Squared when he comes back.
And then this match itself was made on Heat, so that's when they announced the sub.
Yeah, I wonder if it was... So
it seems like he quit somewhere between the SmackDown taping and pay-per-view, to me. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, it's just really weird. Like they were doing the feud knowing... Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask Kevin, see if he knows. I'm a little perplexed by that myself. But in any event, Shammy's gone in his X-Pac. And I'm double-checking something, JR, because this is not the first time... We don't see this very often. I think you and I in Take One talked about this, but this probably is one of the first times that we have a cross-promotion rematch. Because these two have already met once on pay-per-view, but not, of course, on WWF pay-per-view. They met on, I'm going to get the exact date, back on October 27th, 1996 at Halloween Havoc at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. I'm looking it up because I thought it might have been a cruiserweight title match. I was incorrect. At the time, Ray was the cruiserweight champion.
Right,
this
a little bit.
He actually lost that night to Malenko. This was just it says 6. Of course, he was 6 at the time. Pin Chris Jericho with a spin kick to the face at 9:49 after arguing with referee Nick Patrick over a series of slow counts and blah, blah, blah. Courtesy of our good friend Kraim Gauthon on the history of WWE.com. So this is a first. Maybe not a total. Well, we'll get into that another day. But one of the few times that we actually have a rematch from a previous promotion.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there is another one.
I know we talked about it briefly. Maybe? I doubt it, though, because...
So a pay-per-view rematch, right?
Pay-per-view rematch. Oh, yeah, these guys, guys have cross-promoted, cross-matched Raw, Smack,
That's
Raw,
a good one for
Nitros.
you, Savant out there, the Steve Rogers of the world. Get out there and think about that one, whether or not there's ever been a WCW pay-per-view match and then done again in the... No, we know it's going the other way.
Yes.
Because
well,
Hogan Savage and Hogan
Savage,
Piper
Flair
and Flair
Savage.
Yeah, there's a million of them.
Yeah, there's a million from WWF to WCW, but how about in the reverse? I think this might be the first one. Again, they met at Halloween Havoc, 96.
I feel like there's got to be something maybe with Luger in there somewhere. I don't know, because, I don't know. It's a tricky one.
I don't know, anybody in the early 90s that went over to obviously Luger did, but anybody else that he would have faced maybe in like 98, 97, 98, 99? He didn't face Hogan. He's Yoko.
Well, wait, we're saying they fought in WCW first, though, right? Not the other way around.
Yeah. I was thinking in the other side.
Yeah, because him and Bryan Adams, did they ever... Well, no, they never really fought in a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
WWF.
In any event, for all of you stat junkies like Mr. Rogers, see if you can find another case, or one before this one. But they did meet at Halloween Havoc 96, and 6-1 at just under 10 minutes due to NWO shenanigans. And I don't remember that match. I wonder if it's on. I don't know if it's on the Rise and Fall of WCW or one of those. I'm not sure.
Okay, I think it was okay.
Yeah, I don't remember the match very well. This match is very good. Match of the night. Could Jericho and Shamrock have pulled off a 4-star match, you think, JR? Do you think their styles would have worked?
I don't know if it would have been as good as this, but I think the story may have been a little bit better, and it probably would have been more focused on like Shamrock's midsection. They probably had Jericho working that over, trying to get him to keep bleeding eternally, and I'm sure Jericho would have won that match. I'm guessing. Maybe the same thing though. Maybe a DQ like we get here where Hughes interferes. But this was, another reason here too. If you remember, Jericho was having some issues when he first arrived. People saying he worked the WCW style and was working too stiff and wasn't was a little bit sloppy and not really blending or meshing in. And famously, of course, Vince told him, work with Sean Waltman. Teach you something. And Jericho was kind of offended by that, pissed off, and then later on he looked back at that as being a good thing in the long run, that he really learned a lot from a guy in X-Pac who's really been around the block. I mean, he kind of becomes a punching bag as the years go on, but at the time, he was pretty well respected. A guy that had really started young and had quite the career already at this point, and he was still, in his late 20s, early 30s at this point. So a guy that really had a lot of respect, and a guy that, you could look at and say, okay, this is someone that could help you kind of learn this style. And it was, Jericho was a little too proud early on, but I think he was a little defensive as well, so he probably...
Well, yeah. I mean, we talked about how the reputation kind of preceded...
The hell was that? Was a fucking gremlin interfering in your...
No, I was... X-Pac!
Told you not to feed them. He was only... X-Pac was only 27 at this point.
Wow. Hey, it's not midnight yet. And of course, there was other things kind of hindering Jericho at the time, and that is, of course, the whisperings between Clique members. And that is, of course, Kevin Nash, who was not everybody's favorite guy at that time.
Of course, you had to play that.
I think that's in the middle of the X-Pac theme. X-Pac! Obviously, Nash talked to his boy Triple H. This guy's a jerk, and
I don't know if they thought he was a jerk. I mean, they probably were saying, I think it's probably a little bit, I don't want to say professional, but more about his ability. Probably saying this guy's never going to get over his short. He's a little, whatever. I doubt they were saying he's a jerk.
Yeah, the usual. Yeah, you're probably right.
It's
probably those usual.
He stole my bologna sandwich.
He knocked over my coffee. Oh no, never mind. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's coming.
Gotta say, I think it's in a few on that. So yeah, I think there was a lot of things, going against Jericho at this time. In both locker rooms. Obviously, he was shunted out the door in WCW, but that was mostly because management stopped caring. And then we talked about JR at our last Vault at SummerSlam about, I'm sure there's some guys in the WWF locker room thinking, well, the fuck's this guy? He gets his fancy open, and he gets to be with Rock his first night, and a big countdown thing, and, well, he's over and you're not, so get over it. And he proves here that he's a guy that deserves a spot. So a great match, ends with some shenanigans. And I don't think we ever see, as far as I know, Mr. Hughes again. Ever, in anything. Does he go to WCW?
No, no, definitely not. But is he gone right after this show?
If not, it's shortly after.
I didn't think he went this quickly because he had just debuted like a week before.
Well, maybe I don't think is he at the next pay-per-view? Well, I don't know. We shall see.
I think they're in. Hang on, I'll look it up because I'm pretty sure they have like a tag match and Jericho turns on him and beats him up or something like that. And I know he doesn't make it till Survivor Series. I'll check here and see when's the last appearance.
I think the best stretch, frankly, of Mr. Hughes' career was when he was in that weird. He was in that weird faction in ECW in 94, 95.
What do you think his best WWF run was? I mean, each one's only lasted like a month, but I guess his first one.
Yeah, 93, right, when he was with Cornette and all those guys. But definitely when he was in ECW in, what was it, 94, 95, and he was with Born Again, Matt Bourne. He was a half doink, and somebody else. I don't know. Was it Shane Douglas? I don't know. It was a really whacked out faction.
Yeah, I liked. If you remember, Hughes, his return actually was under a mask as Gotch Gracie. Jericho said he was going to bring out a world-renowned MMA star to embarrass, and he beat him with the walls. It was kind of a farce, and then Shamrock came out and got attacked. So that was Hughes' Mr. Return.
Gotch Gracie.
Gotch Gracie. And then the next week later that week on SmackDown, Hughes actually beat Shamrock by DQ when the special referee El Dopo, which was Howard Finkel under a mask, stopped the match. So Jericho was up to his tricks, kind of doing stuff that was he was known for in WCW, shenanigans and different things like that. So no, Hughes was on Raw the next night. He was also on SmackDown the following week. He was at Rebellion, the UK only pay-per-view. Let's see here. Looks like October 12th SmackDown, Jericho pinned him, and that was it. And actually, no, he popped up at a backstage skit on October 18th, and that was it.
Okay.
So he hangs around for a little bit longer.
Yeah, he lasts through the next pay-per-view because I think that 18th is the next night. Pretty sure.
So I would say proper, though, like as an actual, on-air involved in something was the week of leading into that. So
yeah, okay, great match. Jericho doesn't get hurt by this, but X-Pac does the right thing and helps put him over.
Yeah.
So in terms of being in the ring anyway. Right. So X-Pac wins the match, but Chris Jericho makes a very sterling debut here in the World Wrestling Federation in his first pay-per-view match. Do you think that this was one more question that I remember from Take One? What do you think of the match placement? I remember asking that. Did you think this was a good spot?
Yeah, because like if you look at the whole card, the main event is loaded with all your other guys that would normally fill out that upper half of the card. So when you really look at the rest of the guys, this was the next highest star power match.
Right.
Because Jericho, of course, brought in as a major player, and X-Pac as well had really been considered that in the feud with Taker and Big Show, and really someone that had been positioned in that role. So I would say this is probably your next highest high-profile match on the card.
Yeah. So I agree. There really was no other match you could stick here that would.
Maybe the tag is the only other one that I could think of.
Maybe, yeah, which was right before this anyway. So.
No, the Kennel.
No, sorry, the oh god, forgot the Kennel man. Yeah, this should have been like the opener, so it could have been very easily forgotten. All right, time now.
PTB Nation, it is now time for the Rob Houston Memorial Hacksaw Jim Duggan Update.
I got my 2x4.
Something that could have made his ass a real man. Something I wanted.
Vincent Kennedy McMahon Jr. here with your Hacksaw Jim Duggan Rob Houston Memorial Fuckface YMCA update. Chris Cola, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, VKM. How are you tonight?
Oh, not too bad. I'm here with your Jim Duggan update. Let's see here in September. Fall Brawl in Winston-Salem. Weren't we just there for our show? What are they, following us around?
Well, you're in Charlotte
Doesn't
on
matter.
This night.
So Berlin pinned Jim Duggan, who's subbing for Buff Bagwell. That doesn't make sense for me. Why would you pull that switcheroo, never honoring your commitments, WCW? Jim Duggan defeated Bobby Eaton on Saturday night, Roanoke, Virginia. And that's it for September. So, Chris Colo.
Yes, VKM.
Last time I was here, if you remember, I did a little something special.
You did.
And I got a lot of positive compliments. And as you know, me as a man of the people, I always listen to my fans. I try and deliver the best that I can. I try and answer the whims of the fans, and I deliver on my promises. And I deliver on, trying to make them as happy as possible. Do you agree with that, Scott Criscola?
I concur, VKM. I concur.
Okay, so everyone seems to be a big fan of my 80s sitcom fan fiction. So I thought I'd write up another one, dig it out of my vault, and deliver it here tonight. You down for that?
Let's do it. I can't wait.
All right, have you ever heard of a little show called Mr. Belvedere?
I did, very much.
One of my favorites.
Show. Bob Uecker and those guys, absolutely. Great show.
All right, here we go. Here's my fan fiction for Mr. Belvedere.
Okay.
We hit the cold open. George is coming in from playing tennis. He walks into the guest room where he's shocked to see Mr. Belvedere balls deep in a large lady. He quickly scurries out of the room, runs out of the kitchen, chugs some lemonade, and the opening credits hit. Streets on the China, never mattered before. Who cares? When you drop kick your jacket, there's a come through the door. No one glared, but sometimes things get turned around and no one's spared. All hands, look out below. There's a change in the status quo. Gonna need all the help that we can get. According to our new arrival, life is more than mere survival. We might just live the good life yet. All right, we head inside the master bedroom where George is explaining his plight to his wife, Marcia. She seems very nonplussed as Belvedere routinely takes it to the ladies, but George clarifies the pickle. Belvedere is banging his tennis buddy, Anthony Armento's sister, and Armento's super protective. Later in the show, George is forced to confront Belvedere, but he's unfazed by the news and basically tells George to go pound sand, because he'll be busy banging Antonio Armento jackhammer style. George thinks of a revenge plan, but he knows it'll be tough. His plan is to have Armento bang Belvedere's sister in return, but he knows Armento's never even seen a woman naked, let alone mounted one. Still, he forges ahead. After a couple of false starts, hilarity ensues as George and Armento end up hitting Belvedere's sister with the Eiffel Tower as Belvedere watches from a closet. George knows Big B is in the room, so as he climaxes, he yells out, "Payback's a bitch, Lynn!" Belvedere responds, "Excuse me? Come again?" And George replies, "I already have!" And then we fade out. And then you have the B plot where the son is getting bullied at high school or some shit, and he pimps his sister out to make the beating stop. What do you think?
Wow. Wow.
Would you pick up that script if you were in the TV business? If you were Bonnie Hammer?
I tell you, VKM, you drive a hard bargain. You're a good salesman.
She's the only bitch I know involved in television, so I got to go to her for everything, even if she doesn't work there anymore.
Well, that's okay. I don't think I want to
Rod
see
Perth,
anything.
is he still around?
Who?
Rod Perth.
Rod Perth.
He was at the 96 Slammies on behalf of USA.
Yes. No, but Rob Bartlett's still around.
Who?
The guy that was on the
All
first
right.
Raw.
I'm out of here, bitch. Hope you enjoyed that shit. I'll be back next week. You want more?
Oh, yeah. Keep bringing it, VKM.
All right. I'll be back. What's that, Rotella? What do you mean the car won't start? Where's Claire? He's in the strip club? All right, I'm going in there. You jump the car. The idiot Criscolo never even knows what's up. I told him to meet us at Burger King after the show. But we'll be at McDonald's down the street. I think Ron Renzi's going to be there. What do you... No! No! We're not going to Taco Bell. You want me to have the fucking shits all night? Fucking Christ, Rotella. What? Eat that pussy right.
I treat it like it's precious. I ain't going front. The lip dick niggas that's frontin' like they really suck my pussy till they kill me. You feel me?
Never thought that he'd ever get involved in anything with a guy named Lynn.
Lynn Belvedere.
Lynn Belvedere.
I think he created the alcohol. Belvedere.
But we'll have to give it a shot. Although I hope I'm not on the set when when the Armento action happens. I prefer to leave the room during that. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna send you a bottle of Alizé for your birthday.
Alizé. Claire probably has some. Probably has a case of it in his trunk.
Because he's drinking out on the roof.
Yes, he is. Writing poetry. All right, time now for the main event. And we got a lot to talk about here, JR, because there's stuff all over the place here.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of George's stuff all over the place here.
Oh.
All right. It is a triple... I was about to say triple threat. It's a triple threat squared. A six-pack challenge. 6 guys for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. Now, when we left SummerSlam, JR, Mankind was our champion.
Who?
Yep. Hand raised by Jesse the Body Ventura at the Target Center in Minneapolis. He defeated Triple H and then World Wrestling Federation champion Stone Cold Steve Austin to win his, what, 4th now reign? No, I guess it's
Hey,
third.
got a bunch. Oh, well,
I think did we count this right?
I guess 3rd, yeah.
Yeah, it's 3rd because he won it. Yeah, he won it on the Raw.
Halftime Heat.
And then Halftime Heat, and that was it. Okay, so this is the 3rd. 3-time World Wrestling Federation champion. Well, due to some shenanigans the next night on Raw from Ames, Iowa, the moment...
Why don't we set up the match and we'll get into the fun facts?
Okay, there we go. The next night...
why don't we announce the match and then we'll get into the fun facts?
Oh, that match. Okay.
We talked about this like 3 hours ago. And this is the second time we're doing it.
Wait, 3 hours ago? I thought we were talking about this like 2 days ago.
I'm saying we talked about it then and again 3 hours ago.
Yes, I know. All right.
Fucking failure.
Triple threat match, squared, for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. But first, the Raw and from Ames... No, I'm kidding. Your participants.
It's gotta be Kane!
Yes. The other half of the awesome tag team of the year, maybe. That would be X-Pac and Kane. Of course, Kane, the other half. The Big Show. The Rock. Mankind. Triple H. This song was on the radio today.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was.
The regular radio or like Sirius?
No, regular radio.
What the hell station you listen to? Did you time travel back to 1997?
Yes. Well, it was on like Star 99.9 or one of those kind of soft rock kind of things. Popped up out of nowhere. That, of course, is for him. And the returning... Thought maybe you'd have his theme all set, JR.
No.
No? Why don't you play the wrong theme? Since it was played wrong for him. Guess who's back? The British Bulldog.
Yeah, I'm back.
Bitch. Yes, he is. You're like, what? We'll get to that in a minute. So 6 men, and I think I said this before. It has to be the biggest match in terms of guys.
Yeah.
For a World Wrestling Federation Championship match. I mean, we've had 4 packs. Probably the last one with this many guys in it was In Your House Final 4 in February of
I would think so, yeah. We've definitely never had 6, and I can't think of a time we would have 5. So,
yeah.
Unless you count the 92 Royal Rumble.
You could, but that match is always, the specific Rumble match is always 30 guys.
Yeah, but it was 30 guys fighting for the world title.
That is true. Probably would never see it again, and to this point we haven't. But
yeah. So the next night after SummerSlam from Ames, Iowa on Raw, Triple H demanded a rematch. Mankind basically said, fuck yourself. He was not going to give him a rematch. But then Shane McMahon came out and said he is going to get a rematch. So Shane, still kind of taking up the heel mantle of the McMahon family, was the special guest referee for that match. And with a little bit of shenanigan mixed in, your boy won his very first World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Championship, defeating Mankind.
So excited.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on that? Did you feel like it was tarnished or diminished at all, him winning the next night instead of at the pay-per-view?
A little bit, but I don't know if he would have gotten the same kind of fanfare either way, because again, Jesse and heel at the end of the night kind of thing, and I don't even know if he would have gotten that kind of props anyway. I think either way he was kind of screwed. So in getting as much accolade for the moment.
I mean, I know at this point more people were watching Raw anyway than pay-per-views.
Right.
But still, I don't know. Ames, Iowa, kind of buried at the end of this Raw, and it's kind of screwy with Shane as the ref, and he beats Mick instead of Austin, and Mick had only a one-day reign and hadn't really been a legitimate player in the title scene since March.
Right.
It was probably a little bit anticlimactic.
Well,
I feel like they would have been better off having Mick just keep it till here.
I agree, actually. And, we'll talk more about that when we get into the meat of the match. But I've been kind of thinking that myself. But as we continue on this 4-week jaunt between SummerSlam and this show, the whole thing just really made me mad. I hated it. But I liked the payoff here. And not just the winner, but the match itself. But to answer your question, I don't know if either way it would have mattered, because with Jesse there at SummerSlam and the big, face pops and everything, having to raise Triple H's hand, I don't know if it would have even come off as good either way. So, I didn't have a problem with it, because I don't think it would have gotten much better the night before. Maybe just because it was the second biggest show of the year, but with all the Jesse stuff and the crowd really hot, you kind of wanted to go out a winner, and you didn't want Austin to win it because he had other things to worry about, which we'll document over the next couple weeks, next couple of pay-per-views. So I don't think either way it would have mattered, to be honest with you. But he is the champion. However, here's where the shit starts. Enlighten us, JR.
Oh boy. All right, so we fast forward a little bit ahead. Now, these couple weeks in between were the Triple H show on Raw and SmackDown.
Oh, yeah.
Just everywhere. He dominant. And it was great. I mean, he was a workhorse. He was doing a really good job and was great in the character, great in the role. So it wasn't like it was overkill. I mean, it was a lot, but... So on 9/13, Triple H and Chyna come to ringside and begin tearing into Linda McMahon, who had claimed she was going to confront Triple H that night. Showing more guts than brains, Linda came to ringside to give Hunter a piece of her mind. Triple H then began bullying her about a Steve Austin title match, and Linda blew him off. Triple H didn't like this, so he grabbed Linda, spun her around, and all of a sudden, no chance fired up. After being gone since July 25th, Vincent K. McMahon returned on the scene to set things straight. And now we go courtesy to the wonderful Christopher Robin Zimmerman. Of course, you can find his work at slashwrestling.com. Vince yanks the mic out of Helmsley's hand. Hey, listen, I gave my word I wouldn't interfere in WWF business, but this is not business. This is personal. Listen up, you son of a bitch. And that was one of the biggest pops you'll ever hear on Raw when Vince said that. Who the hell do you think you are? Yeah, you think you're WWF champion, all right. Maybe you need a little reminder as to who gave you that break, who gave you your opportunity. McMahon removes his coat and asks Linda to leave the ring and throws his coat at Triple H. But before they go at it, Austin runs to the ring and battled Triple H as the show went off the air. That Thursday on SmackDown, Triple H and Chyna again came to ringside, this time joined by Shane, and now to torment Vince. Vince, you want to be a hero? You want to be a hero to your old lady? You want to be a star? You want to be someone? I'm going to give you a chance to be her hero. I'm going to give you a chance to be her champion. Because they've had enough, and the fact of the matter is this: if I put this title on the line to get a piece of your ass, what do you say, old man? Vince showed up on the Titantron, and Hunter says, "Come on, Vince, we know you're waiting, you and Linda. Take a deep breath, suck them in one at a time, make the walk." And he's basically just taunting Vince. So finally, Vince appears, walks down to the ring, and says, "Let's go to the back and discuss this like business people. Hunter's done talking. Talking's over. It's go time. You and me right now." Vince says, "Listen, last Monday was personal, but I gave my word I would not interfere in WWF business. You're talking this WWF Championship match, all this crap, that's business. I will not have anything to do with that. But I do warn you, don't make this personal." Hunter says, "What's the matter? You don't have the balls? What happened to the man with the balls the size of grapefruits, Vince? I'm calling you out." Vince says, "No." So Hunter says, "That's it. Go to the back, hide behind your skirt, and tell your sexually frustrated wife that you can't get the job done. Triple H will keep it up all night for her." Vince rushes. The match is on for the world title. Vince actually bladed. Austin comes out, gives stunners to China. Triple H puts Vince on top and forces Shane to count 3. The place goes nuts, and Vince McMahon was now your World Wrestling Federation champion. Now, before we get to what happened following that, Scott, your thoughts on this whole scene?
I absolutely hated it. It was terrible. Totally neuters Triple H's first reign and makes him seem like a bitch. And you can't afford that right now. The cheap smack. This was nothing more than to get a cheap SmackDown pop to kind of give the show some juice. That's really what it was all about. And I just thought that was a terrible way to go about doing that. And people could say what they want about my fandom for him, but let's be honest, it was a stupid idea. The guy first of all, like we had already talked about, he didn't win the title at SummerSlam, so it already seems very shady that he had to win it the next night on Raw in backwoods country. Now, after 2 weeks, now he loses the title to a 70 or 50, whatever he was, how old he was at the time, 50-something-year-old guy, 60-something-year-old guy. Regardless whether Austin dished out stunners to do it, it still was totally stupid. Terrible idea. Nothing more than a cheap pop to give SmackDown some juice. And I thought it neutered the first reign for Triple H without it letting it gain some legs. So no, I hated this whole thing. I hated it.
I really didn't mind it. I didn't think it really hurt Triple H that bad. I mean, it was clearly presented as Austin fucking with him. We've seen this happen a lot of times in this year with the world title at this point. It's not like Hunter won it in a glorious manner. And if he had won it at WrestleMania clean over The Rock or something, some huge moment, and then lost 3 weeks later, it's fine. But come on, he won on a Raw with the help of Shane. He beat a one-day champion. This is clearly all kinds of shenanigans involved. So it really didn't bug me. And I thought it was kind of a cool moment to see Vince with the title. I know that was something people bitched about, were really mad about at the time, that Vince would make himself world champion. But it didn't bother me. I thought it was cool, especially when he came out the next week on Raw and he had the belt around his waist and he opens the jacket up. I thought that was a really cool moment. And he had to be champion at some point, right? At some point along the way, he had to have the belt.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, obviously. But I just didn't like it at the expense of a guy who couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I applaud the fact that you actually have more faith in it than I do. I thought it was going to really kill his momentum. But I like your thinking though about the fact that it was kind of a throwaway match that he won the title with and all that kind of thing. And if he had won on Sunday night at SummerSlam and then this happened, maybe it probably would have been even worse. But
so anyway, that week on Raw, Vince comes out and he forfeits the title because he says he vowed that he would not be involved in business. Triple H made it personal, so he didn't want to be world champion, so he puts the title up for grabs in the six-pack challenge match. And when he steps out, Steve Austin comes out and says, "Vince," they're kind of giggling and laughing a little bit and being friendly, and he basically says, "Vince, well, if you're out of the match and Triple H is out of the match, you get an open spot, why don't you put me in there and I'll go for the title?" And Vince says, "Well, Steve, you can't. I can't get involved. It's personal. It's a business. I'm not allowed to be part of the business." And he's not booked. He's not involved. He had his last match in '91.
These other arrangements.
So then Triple H comes out, and he's basically bitching about it as well, saying he should be in the match. And Austin drops this little hidden bombshell that he holds the only power in the promotion to reinstate Vince if he sees fit. So Vince says, "Well, if you reinstate me, I'll make you the #1 contender. But it just won't be in the six-pack because I'm going to give Triple H his match because there are 5 guys I want to kick the shit out of him, and I don't want to deprive them of that. But you will get the first title shot after that." So Austin reinstates him, and Vince gives Austin his title shot. And then When Triple H thinks he's got one over on Vince, Vince ups the ante and announces that Austin will be the special troubleshooting referee for the six-pack challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So that sets the stage here for Unforgiven. The final piece of business came on the Thursday before this pay-per-view. Vince forced Triple H to wrestle 5 stipulation matches in one night, with one match against each six-pack opponent. He stated Hunter had to win 3 of the 5 in order to keep the main event slot at Unforgiven. He had to have a Brahma bull rope match against The Rock, a casket match versus The Undertaker, a boiler room brawl with Mankind, Inferno match with Kane, and a chokeslam challenge with Big Show. Big Show won the first match, so Triple H was 0-1. Triple H won the second match to go 1-1. The Inferno match after The Undertaker got involved by dragging out a bloody X-Pac and putting him in Kane's face. Kane got distracted, and Mideon and Viscera threw him in the fire. Backstage later, Taker congratulates his troops on a job well done. They showed Kane that it does not pay to cross the Reaper. Vince comes in and kind of rips Taker a little bit, and Taker says he's not participating in that match later on, the casket match. He's going to party, baby. Vince says, no, if you don't participate tonight, you're out of the six-pack. Taker says, well, you know what? Maybe I won't be participating in anything around here. Now you deal with that. You're out of here. What? So Taker walks out, and this would be it for a while for him. He had a lot of nagging injuries, needed some time off, and he actually kind of taken a weird little character turn since SummerSlam. He was dressed up and wearing like baseball caps and just long sleeve T-shirts, kind of almost like looking like a biker. Still doing the evil stuff, but kind of out of like the devil worshipping gear.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of mixing it up a little bit.
What's sad is the last couple of months, it seemed like the injuries were not as prevalent, and the matches were actually getting a little better.
Yeah, but he
was doing mostly tags.
I was saying he wasn't really wrestling as much. He was doing a lot less work.
But the character turn was actually kind of cool. Like the whole show thing. And on a side note, one thing we need to mention quick, that was very big character-wise of letting Big Show kind of wipe Triple H out quick in that first match.
Yeah.
I think that's a big boost for him.
Well, and it was obvious, too. I mean, Triple H wasn't going to win the chokeslam challenge, so
well, that's true, too.
Made sense. So anyway, Taker's out. The six-pack is now a 5-pack. Vince has then ordered Mideon and Viscera to take Undertaker's spot in the casket match, and they did, and they ended up defeating Triple H. So he was now 1-2. He had a little help from Shane McMahon, who had actually swung face over the last week and a half. Basically said no one was going to mess with his family, and they were reuniting the McMahons all on the side of good. So they were all reunited here, Shane no longer being the asshole heel. So at 1-2 now, Triple H is in some serious trouble. He gets into the boiler room with Mankind. Someone mysteriously attacks Mankind with a pipe and gives Triple H the win to go 2-2. Then backstage, Vince talks to a returned British Bulldog. Bulldog was talking to Vince backstage. He reminded Vince that back in January he was promised a title shot, and at his suggestion, Vince put him into the Undertaker slot as a thank you. Bulldog offered to be the special guest referee in the Brahma Bull match, and then he turned heel, turning on The Rock, costing him the match, and Triple H had his third victory and was now solidified for the pay-per-view. Bulldog in Taker spot, and that's how he got here. So before we get on to Bulldog, what did you think of all the shit going on here?
The 3 of 5 matches and that kind of thing?
Everything.
I think it was awesome. I wish it was used more often. I think it's great. I think that's a good hook to show the endurance of a guy based on a storyline. I don't think it's been used again. I love these. They should do this every once in a while. Have a best of series. Have 2 guys wrestle one night, 5 matches.
I like it. I thought it was cool. I'm kind of disappointed
awesome.
They haven't done it since. And it was again the Triple H show, but whatever. It was well done, well booked, and he was the workhorse heel right now. With everyone, other guys are banged up, and Taker's hurt, and Austin's hurting, Mankind's hurting. I mean, who do you really have besides Triple H or Rock as marquee names that are fully healthy?
Right.
So I thought it was well done. I liked it. British Bulldog now, of course. Last we had saw him on TV in a wrestling manner. It was Halloween Havoc 98. He had a serious injury to his back when he fell in the Ultimate Warrior secret trap door. Ended up in the hospital. Got a bad staph infection. Almost died. Got hooked on pain pills. And then they released him during that time. And Vince basically said, if you get better and you come back, if you get better and you make it back to full health, I'll bring you back. And that's where that whole thing about the title shot came into play. So he did return. They did a big sit-down interview with Jim Ross and talked about the Owen stuff and all this shit about the Hart family, but it never aired, probably because of the Owen lawsuit, we're guessing.
Yeah.
But, so that never saw the light of day, but he does return here and is back in the WWF. And I was happy to see him. I was happy he was healthy, even though he was looking bloated and old. He's wrestling in jeans. Not yet. I don't think the jeans came yet, actually. I think he still had the tights here. But, yeah, it was cool to see him. I was excited being a big Bulldog mark, but it was definitely not the same as it was when he left in 97.
No. He wasn't, like, you mean bloated? You don't mean he was fat. You mean he was just, like, beef jacked up again?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, juiced.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, because he wasn't fat by any stretch. He wasn't trim, but he was bloated, like he was just exploding out of his skin. Even though he came back, Bulldog definitely was still not of right mind. That was pretty evident. Falling on the hinge. That's a stupid idea. Who puts a hinge in the ring?
Oh, WCW.
So dumb. Like they said, it's WCW. It should be a T-shirt made. Who does something that's stupid? It's WCW. But yeah, even returning here, he definitely was not all of right mind at this point. He just got rid of a head case or a guy with a lot of issues in Goldust, and now he brings another guy in who's not totally all there. But good pop to bring him back.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, giving him...
Be better protected here.
Yeah, I mean, giving him another shot, a second chance. But yeah, you could tell that he just aged a lot. So,
but that's okay. It was nice to see him, but again, I don't know if he was as totally back of right mind as everyone thought he was. So there he is. He's the sixth guy in the match, and his first pay-per-view world title match since '96 King of the Ring.
Yep.
When he lost to Shawn Michaels. So many title matches. And here's a guy who's had so many title shots and good matches with guys. Of course, both matches with Shawn in '96 were good. The well-documented In Your House #5 with Brett at the end of '95 was considered one of the greatest of all time. So here he gets another shot. So there you go. There's your six guys in the six-pack. And Austin is your special enforcer. And he was working a lot that night, JR. He also would do commentary for that match, too.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. They had him working in the booth, and I thought he really added a lot to the match. I thought he was pretty good with JR and King, and really made it seem pretty important. And then, in a really cool moment, as we mentioned earlier, all the scab refs and the different replacement referees, Jimmy Corderas had crossed the line. He refereed this match. As the match is going, he's about to count the pin, and all the other refs that had been striking come out, drag him out of the ring, and start beating him down. Austin comes over, beats them down, and then he calls the rest of the match. So I thought that was a cool moment. Then a little chicanery goes down. The Rock hits the rock bottom. He has Triple H about to be pinned. Austin gets pulled out of the ring. Bulldog comes in, drills Rock with a chair, and then he's about to hit Triple H, but Austin comes in, grabs a chair, and hits Bulldog himself. And then Triple H covers The Rock and wins the world title for the second time.
Yes.
So back on top after a few weeks stutter step.
Great match.
Did you think it was obvious that he was going to win?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. I think this was kind of paying back for just kind of going through the motions of the ratings and SmackDown and things like that. But I thought it was pretty clear.
And there's no one else really believe. I mean, it didn't seem like they were going to put it back on Rock yet. Mankind.
No, they wanted to save Rock. They definitely wanted to save Rock's next win for something really big.
Yeah, no way they were going to put it back on Mankind.
No.
Big Show wasn't going to get it, and neither
Kane
was. Yeah,
Kane wasn't quite there yet. So, no, it was and Bulldog. I mean, would they have given it to Bulldog?
No, we can't. No way.
You'd have enjoyed that. Never would have happened, but. Yeah, it was pretty clear that Triple H was going to win back the title. And then, of course, he raises the belt in Austin's face, and then Austin stuns him, and that sets us up for our next main event, which we'll talk about, of course, next week. Great match.
Yeah,
and
very good.
Perusing over your notes, JR, Bigelow34.proboards.com, you said probably the first, maybe other than Backlash, or maybe the Massacre, first real good, universally liked main event. Pay-per-view.
99?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would stand by that.
Yeah. First pay-per-view main event in 99 to garner lots of praise amongst a wide base of fans. Yeah. And it's one of those hidden gems you don't really remember, you don't think about,
I mean, I like Vince in Austin. I think a lot of people do, but I think there were still people, some detractors in that one. But this is up there with that as far as acceptance. And then I don't know if it's better than that match. I would probably rank Vince Austin above this if I had to pick one to watch. But
right.
A great main event, and it really sets the stage. It's always cool when they throw all the big main eventers into a match, and you kind of get to see all the star power. Feels like a big deal. Helps elevate everyone in the match. Big Show and Kane felt like a big deal in there, and you bring Bulldog back as a top-level guy, too. So, good stuff all around. I enjoyed it. The show as a whole is a little up and down, kind of a 3-match show. X-Pac Jericho was very good. The main event's great. And the tag match was solid enough. The rest of the show is okay. I kind of like the storyline, the refs on strike. That was pretty cool. So, a lot of TV heading into the show. So there was a lot of build, which was interesting. I thought it was well done. I thought they handled it pretty well for the first time, having that many hours of programming on tap to build to this. So, solid show though. Definitely good for the time period. And if you're a fan of this era, which is an interesting one, as they're kind of transitioning around with the writers, which we'll get to next show, but the writer change and everything else going on, kind of flux on top due to injuries and seeing Triple H kind of become the guy. It's an interesting show to watch. So, all right, Scott, why don't we quickly read through the feedback, and then we'll get to bringing on our guests.
Yes, let us do that now. I believe take one. I think you went first, so why don't we switch it up and make sure? Let's see if we can switch the mojo here. And
all right, sounds good.
So I'll start. Corey Ferreira, Venus and Blackman get us started in a meh opener. Not good, but not bad. Just meh. Former friends turn enemies. D'Lo beats Mark Henry, gets the European title back, takes his place as King of Europe. Not a good match. Jarrett China do battle for the IC title. It's awful. Not clear China's the next Sable in terms of being the it female in the WWF, but it's hard to look at her as attractive. Even with all the surgery, the match is surprisingly okay. APA take on the Dudleys, making their debut. Match is pretty poor. Ivory takes on Luna, who amazingly still has a job, and it's a lot better than last month, but it's not saying much. Outlaws are back together after Mr. Ass bombed as a singles guy, and they retain their titles in a solid outing with E and C. Now the thing this show is known for is the god-awful Kennel from Hell, or whatever the fuck they called it. This thing deserves to go back to hell where it came from. Hell. Thank God Snow Boss Man is over. Pac and Jericho have a poor match considering the level of workers they are. Surprising. Triple H wins the title back for his second reign in a month. I know there was discussion about Austin's reigns on the SummerSlam show, but Triple H having 2 in a month, I mean, what the fuck, Vince? Well, no to blame for that. Six-pack is match of the night. Nice to see guys like Kane and Show in title picture, along with Bulldog, who makes his return and it looking jacked. All in a meh show after SummerSlam with one really great match and a piece of shit match that needs to burn in hell. The Meltzer ratings, 1.5, half star, 2.25, half star, quarter star, 2.5, -3, 1.5, 3.5.
Dragon Rockwell. This was another pay-per-view where the WWF sacrificed the undercard to give the main event that extra push. Other than the ongoing storyline with the referee strike, there's not much memorable from the first 2 hours of the show. Jarrett's women-beating gimmick was gaining momentum, and that was enhanced by the King's ageist jokes against Moolah and Mae Young. The debut of the Dudley Boys is okay, although losing to the Acolytes isn't all that helpful. Billy Gunn's firmly back where he belonged in the tag division and returned to the status quo, being a tag champ with the Outlaws, and the title defense against Edge and Christian being a highlight. WWF managed to devalue 2 gimmicks at once with the laughable Kennel from Hell concept. The crowd and the home audience could barely see through the mountain of steel, and all the cameras picked up were the terrible in-ring action, dogs pissing and screwing at ringside. On the Mick Foley and Kevin Kelly commentary makes this watchable, and that's only a DVD extra. Jericho and X-Pac put on a very good match and showcased a new star very well. The main event was pushed to the moon by WWF, and it didn't disappoint. It's good to see Kane back in the main event scene, and Bulldog gets one last title shot. The ending was pretty well done and set up the main event feud perfectly.
Wade Ferrari. Solid show that's a little underrated in my opinion. The Kennel from Hell is so bad and ridiculous that it's kind of funny in an unintentional way. We have a good tag title match. The dominant team of 98 takes on the team who would dominate in a couple years from now. I was disappointed we didn't get the advertised Jericho Shamrock matches. They were 2 of my favorites, and I remember enjoying their feud quite a bit. Instead, Shamrock leaves and gets written out with a beatdown on SmackDown with X-Pac taking his place. I never was an X-Pac fan, but he's a very good worker at this point. Him and Jericho put on a good match, so I can't complain too much. Six-pack challenge is a great match. It's a lot of fun. It was cool to see Bulldog back, but it quickly became obvious that he looks out of place with these guys and is in way over his head in the main event scene at this point in his career.
Jay Henchy, Unforgiven heads to Ric Flair country for a very interesting evening as we are post-SummerSlam. Val and Blackman have a decent opener. D'Lo takes on his former buddy Mark Henry, and the match is not too bad. China gets a shot at the IC title in a pretty entertaining match. I thought China was going to win here after an assist from Deborah, but the feud continues. Acolytes take on the debuting Dudleys, who jump from ECW, and I got a kick out of Stevie Richards running in dressed as an Acolyte with the UPN logo on his chest. Ivory keeps the women's title in a short but fun hardcore match. Outlaws are back after reuniting on SmackDown, one of my favorite moments in the early years of the show. Retain the new newly won tag titles. Now the bomb of the night, the infamous Kennel from Hell match. I liked the Al Snow Boss Man feud, but why in God's name were they put in this crap? You could tell JR and King hated this because they made jokes throughout the match. Thankfully, X-Pac and Jericho make everyone quickly forget the last match and put on a good one as well. Main event had more twists and turns than last month, but it was solid. I think the best spot was when Rock hit a close near fall on Triple H and the Charlotte crowd goes berserk thinking he had won. Austin did a great job as enforcer, and it was cool seeing Kane, Show, and Bulldog in the title picture. Triple H is once again champion, but the Rattlesnake Snake is hot on his heels. Bring on No Mercy.
Steve Rogers, the kennel from fucking hell, is on this card. Well, at least it provides fodder for McFoley and Snow to have some fun in a match commentary for it down the road. I guess kind of a preview of things to come with the tired established talents, though to be fair, the APA will be a fixture in the tag division for the rest of Ron Simmons' run, going over the new blood, but by the end of the year, losses at this pay-per-view will be long forgotten. Speaking of which, it is interesting to see X-Pac go over Chris Jericho in Jericho's debut, while Waltman was yet to be the universal whipping boy of the IWC. Would not be surprised if this was something that helped get the ball rolling. And finally, odd and sad to see Davey back in his last ride with the company. While he is still going to be around for a few more months, it is worth noting this would be his 6th and last pay-per-view title match. That's this one in the six-pack challenge, the 92 Rumble, In Your House 4 against Diesel, and In Your House 5 and 95 against Brett. And, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the 2 matches against Shawn in 96. Out of everyone that has or will be involved in a match where either one of the 3 recognized heavyweight titles by the WWE is on the line, British Bulldog leads with the most matches, yet never holding one of them. The next highest that has been covered on the podcast is his Camp Cornette stablemate Vader with 3.
All right, Ed Harris. Interesting placeholder pay-per-views. We get a rather iffy undercard. Never cared for the Jarrett woman beating angle. A masterpiece of awfulness in the Kennel from Hell match, and a very good, interesting main event. Maybe not as interesting as a spectacle of 4 rather cute Rottweilers steaming a match by taking a leak on the mats and trying to mate with each other on camera. You can take this as your own personal commentary on Russo's more bizarre booking ideas, but still interesting. Nice to see British Bulldog back, if only for a short time, and I sort of enjoyed Austin on commentary. Makes me wonder why I never tried to do more of it is in a sort of he's got a Jesse Ventura with a Texas drawl thing. So that could have been developed into something pretty damn good. Overall, sort of a middle-of-the-road show as the Russo era in the WWF begins to wind down.
Ryan Schmuck. Interesting pay-per-view. First pay-per-view in a long time that The Undertaker does not appear after he walked out and quit on SmackDown. He was supposed to be in this match and changed his look before leaving. Will he be back? As for the rest of the show, it was okay, though Kennel from Hell was horrible. They should have brought back the ghost of Pepper to attack the Big Boss Man. Jarrett, the so-called chosen one, going after women, as Russo is getting fed up with the way Jarrett is being used, and things would take a turn very shortly. Six-pack challenges are always fun, something they should do now in today's WWE, as there are enough people to do it.
Stevie G, very, very strong last 2 matches. However, the rest of the card needs to be burnt at the stake like a witch. In 99, I spent most of my student loan on the VHS of the show. After seeing Kennel in the cell, I want my beer money back.
Dave Hall. Really tough show to watch with a lot of bad matches. The storyline of the show is the referee strike, and it just goes to show that the referees do help matches as the scabs were terrible. Venus and Blackman is average. Don't know why Blackman can't produce on pay-per-view. D'Lo and Henry's okay, but nothing great. Jarrett starts his angle with Chyna. The build-up was good, and the match was not offensive. The Dudleys debut, but sadly against the Acolytes. I always felt that Bradshaw and Farouk tried to ruin the match for the Dudleys, and I thought they would end up going the way of Public Enemy. Thankfully, they recovered from this shocker to have a great career. The less said about the Kennel from Hell, the better. Worst match ever. 3 matches to help stop this card from being totally shocking. Jericho meets X-Pac, who replaced Shamrock. After the build, it's a shame Shamrock could not compete. X-Pac and Jericho had a decent match, but the heat just wasn't there. The Outlaws reunite, and I'm very happy about that, and they're champs again. Thankfully, no more Billy Gunn singles matches. Finally, the 6-pack challenge felt overbooked. I didn't like the storyline coming in. I felt they could have done the match without taking the belt off Triple H. The sad thing is that no matter how hard the guys worked, everyone's waiting for Stone Cold to arrive. Overall, it was entertaining, but nothing great.
And Ryan Paul. Blackman versus Val. I thought matches like this were the reason for the Sunday Night Heat. Punch, kick, money shot. Great match if you're looking to kill the crowd. Mark Henry versus D'Lo. D'Lo worked his ass off in this match and was fighting an uphill overweight battle. It's amazing WWF let D'Lo go and continue to repackage Mark Henry. D'Lo shakes his head. We're more interested in anything Henry would do for a while. Jarrett Chyna. It's strange Chyna is the face while using Triple H's music and still being semi-aligned with him. But then again, Jarrett was beating women at this point in his illustrious career, so his opponent would have to be pretty terrible to get any heat. Chyna's often a punchline these days. I think everyone forgets what a good worker she was. Chyna and Jarrett put on a good little show before it comes a comedy sketch with Moolah and Mae Young. Dudley's debut and Bubba's stutter plus the horrid attire just was not going to fly in WWF. Neither team felt over, and this is a definite bathroom break. Richards' interference proves this should have been saved for Stevie Night Heat. Ivory versus Luna, uninspired and boring, but thankfully quick. Tag title, do we ever get an explanation for the Outlaws being back together after the horrible feud in singles career? Granted, they sucked as singles competitors, but they sure know how to work a crowd as a tandem. Hot match, but the finish with the New Brood sucked, as did the New Brood. Camel from Hell, rag on this all you want, but it's a lot better than Bossman Taker from WrestleMania. Jericho X-Pac, this felt a lot like a WCW undercard match from 97-98, and that's actually a good thing. Fast-paced despite the chinlock in the middle because of the distracted crowd. The dueling Jericho sucks, X-Pac sucks chance, a nice touch. Good hidden gem of a match. Main event is wild with a lot of different intersecting storylines being told throughout. Rock and Sock working together. Triple H Bulldog cahoots breaking down over the course of the match because of all the silly referee stuff. This is 20 minutes of fun, and Austin and commentary makes it better. Second half saves the show big time. Total thumbs up, even if it's for being Russo's last pay-per-view as Booker in the WWF. So there's your feedback, Place to Be Nation. Thank you, as always, for chiming in on Unforgiven 99. Scott, let's take a deep breath.
Is it still working?
Whew.
You don't have any windows popping up on the.
I think we're okay. All right, we got a few minutes here to try out, but why don't we do this? Why don't you shut up for a minute? Mm-hmm. We'll bring in our two special guests, and we'll get talking about the very, very exciting website launch coming this weekend. Mm-hmm. And, of course, those two guests on the line with us now, our good friend, first of all, the one half of the co-host of the wonderful Where the Big Boys Play podcast, our good friend, Chad Campbell. Chad, welcome back.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
How are you, Sue?
Doing pretty good.
Does it feel like 2 years ago that we were at WrestleMania together?
It does feel like a long time.
It does feel like
yeah.
Feels like it was actually like WrestleMania 20.
It's not even 2 months yet, and it feels like it was forever ago.
Yeah.
Crazy. And another guy who was at WrestleMania at the tailgate is the one and only making his debut here on the Place to Be podcast, the great Brad Woodling. Brad, how you doing?
Hey, guys. Good to be here. Doing well, and you're right. It does feel like it's been months now. It's unbelievable. I mean, there's that long build to Extreme Rules that was kind of painful, and it really does feel like it's been quite some time.
Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like we built up Mania so much, and it went off so well, and it was so great, and now it's like, seems like it never happened. The Wizard of Oz or some shit.
Yeah, so great. It's like our life's back in black and white now.
So we want to bring you guys on because you two are, along with Scott and I, pretty much the main cogs in running the upcoming website venture we have. And we're going to give some details on that. We're going to release the domain name and a bunch of other details on the show. Before we get to that, Brad, why don't you just give us a little background on yourself, how you became a wrestling fan, your other interests, how you found the show, and then how this website thing came apart. Because this came out of your brain. Your tiny little Pennsylvania brain formed this website. So we wanted to hear about how that came about as well.
Very good. I'll let the tiny thing go by. It's like a means of passage here, rite of passage. So as a wrestling fan, I actually kind of have a little bit of a different story. I don't have any type of nostalgia from when I was 12 or 13 years old and would like by default think that was like the greatest thing that ever happened in professional wrestling. Actually, I'd only been exposed to it intermittently growing up, and then I was in college and I was home for winter break, and it was December 1997. And one of my buddies, his brothers, older brothers, were cool guys, and they were big WCW fans. And they had this big party for Starrcade 97. So I came over. That's the first show I ever saw. I was hooked. A couple weeks later, Raw happened to be in Penn State, where I was at school at the time. And it was the go-home show in 98 before the Rumble. And we had great seats for that. We went over there, so I had the WWF exposure too. And a couple months later, I was putting figure four leg locks on girls in my speech communication class when I was doing a piece on professional wrestling. And that was a better figure four leg lock than The Miz, too, let me tell you. And then from there, I've kind of been hooked. So I had the luxury of being in school during the Attitude Era and watching Nitro and Raw and being at an age where I could spend a lot of time diving back into wrestling history. And it was always a Scott Keith guy. From the WrestleLine days, and so when I got back into things back around 08 or so, I started seeing some of the Place to Be podcast posts there. So I checked it out with Kevin Kelly and whatnot, and that was the first one I checked. It was one of the Kevin Kelly ones, and I was hooked from there. And so I've been a fan of the show ever since. Was able to get in touch with Justin and make it out to the WrestleMania tailgate, which was better than the show. It was certainly a highlight, better tailgate than I had in Miami the year before too. So it was very memorable.
All right, that was very succinct, to the point. I like it. You could replace Scott very easily and probably shave about an hour and a half off the show time. So.
Wouldn't be as entertaining, though. Got a lot of time to get there.
We'll see. Don't sell me short, okay?
Maybe. All right, Brad. So now take us to a few weeks back and how this website idea kind of launched and where we went from that.
Yeah, so the Place to Be Nation, believe it or not, we talked about how long it's been since WrestleMania. It's actually only been 3 weeks since this idea hatched, but we've literally worked, the four of us, every day since then to kind of put things in motion. And so a couple weeks ago, well, I shouldn't say that. So going back to, after WrestleMania and stuff, I've been listening to the podcast for a while. I'm thinking, man, these guys are super talented. They've got these great guests, good connections, and there's no website. But I know that, you had mentioned it, you had dropped it in like episode 200. So I've done some writing in the past for a couple different video game websites and done some editing before too. So, I'm pretty familiar with that. I mean, I'm no tech whiz, but I can figure stuff out. And I was like, well, I'm going to reach out to Justin and be like, we really need to do like, a wrestling thing. I'll help you take point on it. And, I went to bed that night. The next morning I woke up to like 300 Facebook messages. A whole staff had been gathered, and the focus of the site had been determined. And from there we had a couple good 2-hour plus phone calls to kind of go over things between the four of us and flesh things out. And now 3 weeks later, we're on the precipice of launching the site this weekend.
And I think I want to make it clear too that this is really a legitimate venture. We said we put a staff together. It's grown. We're really looking for it to be more than just your generic message board or blog. We're really looking for it to be legitimate.
Yeah, this is not and not to sell anybody short, this is not like a .blogger site or a placetobe.wordpress.com. And we've put the money out for it, the servers and whatnot. We've assembled the staff, and we want to make it look right, and I think it looks great.
So the idea behind the site is, I think we mentioned on the show before, and we're all big fans of the Grantland website, and we're not trying to directly, be a takeoff of them, but that's kind of our role model site. Kind of the idea we're looking at, where we want to focus on pop culture, including sports. There's still going to be a heavy wrestling focus. There's going to be a lot of movie, TV talk, video games, heavy focus there, and then just kind of general life stuff as well. We're going to have columns. We're going to have different kind of tournament stuff where you can really engage with us. We are going to do reviews, not in your classic manner, but there are going to be reviews. So there will be like play-by-play or match grades or anything like that, but there will be previews and reviews of pay-per-views. We're going to have monthly prediction or, preview, right? Preview pieces on the pay-per-view.
Sure, absolutely.
As well as monthly recaps as well. So a wide variance of topics, a wide variance, and we're hoping to have updates every day for you. This isn't going to be something where you're kind of at our whim. We're putting together schedules, and we're hoping to have constant updates on the site. So not something where you'll see like 2 pieces one day, and then 4 days goes by, and you never know what's coming next. So we're going to have a pretty routine schedule. We have a great staff put together, and it starts at the top here. Scott and I look at us as figureheads in a lot of this thing, because I want to give Brad all the kudos he deserves, because he's really been the driving force behind this. He got the domain locked down. He's gotten the site. He did all the graphic work as far as the look of the site. And it really been the brainchild, running the schedule and getting in touch with everyone. So Brad's really the wheels of this car that we're driving here, and you and I are just the sexy things that hang on the windshield.
Yes.
Mirror there.
We're the fuzzy dice.
Yes. And then Chad, of course, quickly become one of our right-hand men, and we had to bring him in as far as being one of the main managing editors of this place, assistant to the managing editor, of course. And couldn't pass an opportunity up to grab him and get him in the fold. Chad, why don't you just quickly give your thoughts, and then we'll get to the rest of the staff.
I'm absolutely jacked for the website as a whole. I think it's going to be a great place. We all have outside interest other than wrestling, so it is kind of it's not a baby of Grantland, but it takes sort of that template where we have a kind of all-in-one type venture with all sorts of genres and interest. And you can come together. If you don't watch wrestling, you don't have to bother with the wrestling section of the website. If you don't play video games like myself, I'm very novice when it regards to video games. So, that's an area where you can learn something or ignore it if you want to. So I'm really excited about how the site's come together. It's been amazing. And I want to compliment Brad also.
And now, before we get to the rest of the staff, also want to give a shout-out to Jay Hunter. Not really a part of the staff, but pretty much part of the background staff of this thing. So I want to give him full credit for all the put together all the awesome graphics that you've been seeing on the Facebook page and also on the website that we're going to tell you about in a minute. Just a really great guy, Jay Hunter. A guy that doesn't owe us anything, and he always steps up and does a lot for us. So really, really, really cool from Jay.
Yep, from a momentum standpoint, I mean, Jay was, again, had that banner, and that just helped keep things moving along. You know, that we weren't waiting for anything, or we had an idea, and he was right there to help. He's a huge asset.
All right, Brad. So with that, and that's kind of been the framework part of the staff that we've all, the five of us, have really worked to get the site itself up and running. So why don't you now run down the rest of the staff that'll be contributing, writing to the site.
Okay, great. And this is in no particular order. Actually, we'll go alphabetical by a couple different groups. So right now on the staff, we have Brett Carlson, we have Bob Colling, Jordan Duncan, Jen Engel. So we do have diverse. Real excited. Hopefully, add on some, as we grow, some different female voices.
No sausage fest here this time around.
Right? No. It's a co-ed locker room. Jeremy Nichols, Mark Poirier, Andrew Reich, Josh Richer. Yes, that Josh Richer. I heard his name and the intro, and I'm sure he's going to cringe when he hears that forever. But and Steve Rogers also, and then from a contributor standpoint, we have some folks that kind of help us with some features, and we'll grow into an expanded role. I actually should put Michael Waldrop into our staff bucket also, and he's W, so he fits in there. And then from a contributor standpoint, we have Ben Morse, good friend of the site, Grant Owens, who we all met at the tailgate. We know Grant, Mark Clare, Jeff Machado, and then also Andrew Flanagan.
Yeah, so we have a great staff. We're pretty excited. Each one of them, we've either witnessed their writing or know them personally and already seen some of the pieces they put together as we prep for the site. And I think it's a great staff, a very diverse staff. It covers a lot of subjects. Like you got guys that can hit wrestling, sports, TV. You got guys that can do music, comics, and video games. You got guys that can do all different stuff, and it's very, very diverse, which I think is great. And it's going to add to a lot of crossovers. So you're not always going to get the same people talking about the same stuff. I think there's a few people on there that can really be breakout stars on this website, and I think there are others that are going to surprise us as well. So really looking forward to it. Also, Brad, as we've been working on, we're going to house a lot of podcasts on the site. You're going to be able to get all the new episodes of this show, Place to Be Podcast, all the new episodes of Where the Big Boys Play. You can stream them right from this website. They'll be housed right there, as well as linking to the archives. You'll be able to get hooked up with Grant Owens. We found a new music podcast on there. We're really excited about landing that one. If no one's listened, or if there's anyone out there who hasn't listened to that show yet, you really should. Grant does a great job and some great music choices on there, and he has live sets played just for his show, and so that'll add a lot of diversity to the site as well, hopefully bring in some new eyes. And then this other new podcast that we just reached a deal with, Brad, why don't you tell us about this one?
Sure, actually, hold on 1 second here. Let me make sure I get the name right.
That would be good.
Off the Top Rope with Michael Waldrop, who we mentioned. It was over the top rope or off the top rope? I think it's off the top rope.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's off the top rope.
Yep.
Yes, thank you, Chad.
We're real professional up in here. We'll get this shit cleaned up by Saturday. Don't worry.
I mean, this is literally breaking news as of maybe 45 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So we've been talking with Michael, and he has a great feature and a great idea that he started to flesh out on the Bigelow 34 message boards, and we really liked it. And we reached out to him, and he's got a podcast. I wouldn't say it's in its infancy. Probably been 13 episodes so far, and it's very good. It's different from what we have now too, so we think it would certainly add value. And we talked to him tonight, and he actually offered it up to us, so we're real excited. So we'll house that to also stream from our website.
Yep, so we're going to have 4 great podcasts to start here that you can listen to and find. And like I said, they'll all link right to the archives as well. Now, another concept we have is the mailbag. Of course, you see that on many sites, not unique to us or any other one individually. So there's going to be a specific email bucket. You can send any question you want about any topic. And Scott and myself will answer it when we do our probably monthly mailbags. So That email address we'll give out shortly, and we're going to start plugging that on the Facebook page as well, and you guys can get those questions in, and we'll answer about anything in the world you want us to talk about.
If you want to know what Scott's musical tastes were back in the 20s, he will let you know.
Duke Ellington, baby.
Woo! Okay. So, yeah, we're excited about that. So why don't we mix things up? Scott, why don't you go ahead and reveal, I'm going to test your knowledge of technology here, the URL for this website.
No, it is www. http / No, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you...
Oh, my God, I know I should have picked Chad. I almost did.
PlaceToBeNation.com.
There you go. That is the website you will be going to for all your pop culture needs. PlaceToBeNation.com. We own it. It's up and running right now. It's in maintenance mode, but on Saturday, June 1st, coinciding with my PIC's 40th birthday, we will be launching this website. So the first couple pieces will be up on Saturday. Please check that out. Brad, do we have a specific time?
When you wake up on Saturday morning, get your morning coffee, you can log onto the website. If you want to sit there and refresh it at 12:01 while we load everything up for the first time, you can be that guy.
Or if you're Mark Clary, you'll be going to bed when it's going up, so you'll be all set.
Yes.
There you go.
Actually, no, it'll only be 9 p.m. there, so he'll just be starting.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a release party of the four of us
yeah.
on Saturday at midnight to load everything up for you guys. So we'll start the month clean and officially celebrate Scott's birthday on Saturday the 1st.
Yeah, Scott, speaking of, what do you got planned for this big monumental occasion?
I don't know. Actually, I'm kind of in limbo. I'm not sure what's going on. Leaving it to others. No. I know I'm probably have dinner on Saturday night. I've left Sunday open. So honestly, I have no idea. The highlight of the weekend right now is the launching of this website.
And it's a big weekend. Not only are we launching the website, Sunday night we're starting to record trivia.
Yes.
Trivia tournament's kicking off.
First for that.
That's right. Trivia tournament's kicking off this weekend as well. So next week's shows, you'll be hearing that. So big weekend here in Place to Be Nation.
And, JR, Saturday night, Game 1, Bruins-Penguins.
That's right. Got a lot going on.
Do we have another memorable spring like you and I had 2 years ago?
Hopefully only without a major bear pong fight.
Yes, yeah, exactly, with guys with big tattoos chasing us out of their basements.
Okay, so anything else we missed here about the website? I think we covered pretty much everything, right? So PlacetoBeNation.com. All the email addresses will be at PlacetoBeNation.com as well, obviously, so it's mailbag. Is it just mailbag, Brad?
Yep, mailbag at PlacetoBeNation.com, and your general questions outside the mailbag would be info at PlacetoBeNation.com. That'll all be on the website.
And, of course, all the addresses will be at the bottom of the articles, so you can specifically go to any of our writers, including the four of us, for any specific questions about what we write. And we already got a lot. You're probably wondering, when it launches Saturday morning, what's going to be one thing? Hi, no, we've already got a pretty good cachet, don't we, Bradley, of things ready to rock and roll.
We have not sat idly around the last 3 weeks, so we've been building a backlog, and the staff's been great. And we got some real exciting stuff that I'm real excited to release to everybody.
Yeah, I think we got a couple really interesting pieces. One is going to be is it 2 or 3 parts? The big one, Brad. Have we decided yet? 2.
2 parts.
Okay, 2-part office roundtable, retrospective, looking back at the show. We're going to have, I think there's like 5 or 6 of us all chimed in with answering different questions about the show. So that's a 2-parter. Andrew Reich has put together a monster NBA draft preview. That thing's a beast, and it's awesome.
That thing is better than what you're going to find on 98%. I mean, unless you're on draftexpress.com.
Yeah.
Yep. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Reich knows his shit when it comes to
very in-depth.
Yeah. So that'll be good. We have, of course, Scott and I's reviews. This will be the exclusive home to that now. Raw, SmackDown, Impact, Ring of Honor, main event. Those will be housed there. We got Brad's Extreme Rules recap will be up. So a bunch of different things. We get some other nice, interesting things in the works as well. Some collaboration pieces, some lists, some top 10 kind of stuff. So really all we can do is ask you and implore you, if you're a loyal listener of the show and you want to support us, really help us get this thing going. You can help us launch it. You can help us make it successful, just like you've helped us make the show successful and get a lot further along in this than we ever expected back in February 2011. And here we stand now again asking you to help us out. Click away, give us some hits, read all the pieces on there, share your feedback on the Facebook page. We have a dedicated Facebook page. It's the Place to Be Nation page. You can just search for it. It's set up as a fan page, so you don't need to be invited. It's not hidden or anything like that. So come join us there. You can follow us at Twitter at Place to Be Nation. And I think that probably pretty much wraps up everything we wanted to say about the site without giving away too much. So, again, please definitely come check us out. Definitely come be part of this movement now, get in on the ground floor, and help us continue to develop it. At this time, we're not really hiring any more staff, but if you are interested and you want to submit a piece, you can send it to info@placetobenation.com. We'll keep you under consideration for the future if we end up deciding to expand the staff at any time. So, all right, before we wrap up, Chad, anything on your end?
No, just please come and give us a shot, and we got everything socially integrated, so you can go get the discussion started on the Facebook page once you read an article, and just knowing that somebody out there is reading means a lot to me, so please come and check us out. I know us four especially are really excited and proud of what we've done so far, so please give us a shot. I'm real excited about it.
Brad?
I'll echo what Chad said. I think that once we shouldn't say maintenance, but coming soon, as you'll see, and once we pull back the curtain, I think the look and everything that we put together is really top-notch stuff, and I think that people will be really impressed, and it's really it's a credit to you guys, Justin and Scott, for the evolution of the Place to Be. And so Place to Be Nation, because the podcast has always integrated other things outside of wrestling. So it's kind of a natural evolution, as I kind of like to say. So I think it's going to be real exciting. People are really going to like it.
Scott?
JR, every time you and I have taken a step in our evolution here, I think back to that episode 2 and that infamous baseball off-season special that went till 2:30 in the morning, and we're thinking, oh my God, that sucked.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? How are we going to do this?
Yep.
And here we are, almost 225 episodes later. We've gained a great fan base. We've gained great friends, 2 of them right here. And it's been a long time for me to be able to expand things for me other than wrestling. And I'm going to plenty of sports, plenty of TV, movies. I got a lot of stuff ready to shoot out there for you James Bond fans. Might be some stuff coming soon. Chad, you and I, late July, early August, we'll crank out the mega college football preview. I'm really excited to work with you on that. It's been a long time since I've written some good college football, and after watching my team play in the national championship for the first time in a while and then get schooled, but it's just another step, JR, of the hard work that you and I have done, and of course now Brad and Chad in the morning. And all the great help that these in the zoo. And of course all the great help that this staff. I'm looking forward to guys like, there's a lot of people that are great writers, and then we've got a lot of wild cards that I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to put forth. So it's just something very different. We talk about Grantland, but Grantland's different. Those guys are sports junkies. I mean, Simmons, a season ticket holder. These guys have so much knowledge and everything. But this is going to be a very different site. We really want you to check it out. It's going to be something that you'll want to go to every day and go, oh, I wonder what these guys are posting today. That's my goal as part of this is every day somebody goes, wow, I wonder Justin's doing something about Ring of Honor this week, or I heard Chad's got some cool music thing, or that's what I want people to do. I want people to, next to the news sites and stuff, I want this to be the site people go to every single day.
And the best part about this is we have editors, so you won't get this kind of endless rambling that puts you to sleep in the writing. So we'll cut you down, cut your thoughts down, and make it actually sound coherent and to the point. And it's going to be great.
No emotion. It's going to be so cold and Cena promo-esque.
Fuck that. All right. So I want to thank you guys for joining us, Scott. Let's go ahead and wrap up. Yes. Again, we apologize for the technical issues this week. Thanks for staying with us and give us a good chance here to give you a little juiced up episode here on Wednesday. Now, next week, not to break your hearts once again, but we'll only be doing one episode Monday night, No Mercy 1999, and that's because we're recording trivia 2 nights next week. So we need to just kind of plan for that and save our recording time for that. But we're looking to bang out all of the matchups over 2 nights, and then we will begin airing them the week after that next Monday, which would be, the 10th? June 10th,
Yes.
we'll
June
start
10th.
airing the trivia matchups. So we'll probably do 2 a show until we get to the second round. So with that said, that's Chad Campbell and Brad Woodling, and that's Scott Criscolo. Scott, since none of us will, I'll probably talk to you, but these guys won't, and won't be seeing you until, July now at this point? St. Mary's Day, so the next time?
St. Mary's Day. Yep.
All right, so I want to go ahead and wish you a very happy 40th birthday, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be safe. Have a good time.
Thank you. I shall. Judy's taking me out. We're going to the Blue Plate at Denny's. It's going to be awesome.
Nice. All right, so you enjoy that. We will talk to you, Place to Be Nation, Monday night, and some of you will talk to you Sunday night. Quick, Chad, who's your favorite in the trivia tournament?
I'm going to go with Cornette. I hate to say it.
I'm sorry, that's wrong.
Cornette, yes.
Wrong
just
answer.
like Frog.
Cheering for the hill.
Cornette, Cornette's on a mission. He's training.
Yep.
We'll see, though.
Yeah, he's taking it serious. I know that.
Brad, who do you like?
Well, I like Chad, and I say that only because should I defeat Joe Hogan, and I will defeat Joe Hogan. I probably won't, but
I think it's Jim Hogan. Unless you're doing like a Jericho thing where you're trying to get him off his game.
It's part of my heel shtick for this is that Chad Campbell and I could face off, conflicting interests. In the second round, actually, we're very close in the same bracket. So I do like Chad, and I've listened to a lot of the old trivia questions and stuff, and then it's kind of like playing Jeopardy along at home, and then you realize that those questions will never ever be on a tournament again. So we'll see what happens.
And I will say this: anyone who's participating, here's your final warning. Mm-hmm. If you're studying, there's no layups this year. There's a few, but not many.
Mm-hmm.
The questions got harder. There's also a lot of ancillary questions to wrestling. Maybe a little bit about movies, music, stuff to do with wrestling, but not specifically in the ring. Also, you need to be a listener of this podcast, because there's a bunch of questions filtered in throughout this thing randomly that are going to be about this show, stuff that's happened on the show. I mean, nothing too obscure, stuff if you're a listener you should know, but those will be there as well. So, just so you know, it's not just in-ring, it's not just who pinned who. There's a lot of other topics that may come up and throughout this tournament. So Sunday night we'll begin recording that, and Monday night we'll be back here with No Mercy 1999. So once again, for Brad and Chad, that's Scott. I'm Justin. We're out of here. Scott, we'll talk to you next week.
Peace.
Are you gonna have Judy and a cake come out and sing Happy Birthday?
No, I just want the Blue Plate. I just want moons over my hammy.
And you eat the cake off of her?
The Rottweiler will.
While Chad drinks moonshine in the corner.
Hey. That's good stuff.
And Brad will be wearing his Brian Boucher Flyers jersey, weeping and crying.
Wasn't our year. Don't forget that 3-0 comeback, though, buddy.
And then we won the cup, so nobody cares.
I know.
Yeah, I know. They forget to talk about the 4-0 the next year.
Never shine doing what I've shown. Never be, never see. Won't see what might have been. What I felt, what I've known. Never shine doing what I've shown. Never free, never me. So I dug the Unforgiven. Shine doing what I've shown. Never be, never see. Won't see what might have been. What I felt, what I've known. Never shine doing what I've shown. Never free, never me. So I dug the Unforgiven. The Unforgiven.